Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a limitation. Hater plotting my elimination. Gotta go to Google for the information. I'm a superstar, so I gotta shine. Top dollar be the bottom line. Bottom feeding niggas out of line. Turn your heart rate to a dotted line. Yeah, my zodiac probably dollar sign. Got the energy to win it, my nigga, I'm feeling great. Got a date with destiny, focusing on my fate. I don't give a fuck what you rapping, you been a fake. I'm everything that they ain't, it can't be, it won't be. Wanna see me fall, I can't go, I won't leave. Coming from the block with plain clothes and police. Straight up to the top with bankrolls and rollies. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, 12 can't really stop shit, so I'm still pushing like a mosh pit. Ice dripping, think I'm hot shit. In the yellow bucket with the mop stick. I've been jugging jams like wholesale. Everything must go sell. Hitting bitches with the oh well. Need 100 million on the low scale. On my worst night, I'm the best nigga. Wouldn't mess with you, couldn't cap to him. Homie spotted me like 700, brought 1100 right back to him. If I can't do it, then it ain't real. I just make dollars, I don't make deals. I've been going hard in the paint, still blowing kush clouds till I can't feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
We are kicking off the Titan Immortal semifinals on this fine Thursday evening. A matchup between Maelstrom Esports and Mint Superior, winner with a shot at the grand final. My name is Ferris, joined by my main man, Golden Gad, for the broadcast tonight. Best of 5, full fearless. Potential crazy implications later on games 4, games 5. We've seen Maelstrom go the distance already against Team Coconuts with a 3-2. On the other side, Mint Superior 3-0 over Dorado Zeta. We already have crazy things on the other side of the bracket, like Drop Dead Gaming, our defending champions, dropping out in the quarterfinals. I'm excited to see what this series has in store for us.
Yeah, definitely some surprises in the bracket. Of course, Mint is the 4th seed from their group B, and they just took out the first seed of Dorado, so you really do think they should have some good wind in their sails, whereas Maelstrom really had to grind for their victory over Team Coconuts. And, you know, that's still a good achievement nonetheless. Team Coconuts has that very unique style. It's very hard to adapt to, so I actually think it's still very well played there to get that 3-2 victory. And now they're in semis, so they really have a great shot at making it to the finals, especially considering Drop Dead Gaming is also out of the tournament. So now it's really up for any of these teams' takings. And just to shout it out while we're here, on the other side of the bracket, there's Summit Esports Wawas and Omega Akuma Pairing Knives fighting it out also on the other side of the bracket. So whoever wins this match will be against one of those two for the title for Immortal League.
I can't believe we're getting down to the wire already. It's been almost the entire season. We got 2 weeks left to go. Big implications, big stakes on the line for tonight. Let's talk a little bit about these two teams. And let's start here with Maelstrom Esports. I mean, specifically to take someone out of this team to talk about off rip. Trixui, fantastic series for the most part. Had some crazy pop off performances against Team Coconuts. Had like a 15-5 game on Diana. Had like a 16-2 game on Pantheon. Trixui has the pop off potential. It is going to be a big X factor here, I think, for Maelstrom Esports. On the other side, Vertigo as well is a jungler who does like to play the carries too. So maybe we see a carry jungle battle between these two. They do also play some of the more supportive things. So I'm really excited to look into this jungle matchup and what that has in store for us. As Golden Gat, I'm sure you're aware, the first ban for the side of Maelstrom, that Gwen, so broken right now on this patch.
Yeah, Gwen, definitely very powerful. I believe Neferi is still disabled, so that one is not going to have to be rearing its ugly head right now with the new mini rework that came in. And we're seeing a bunch of jungle pressure already taken off the table. We got Gwen, Viego, Lilia really pinching this pool. We got Varus now coming in, so some of those stronger blindable AD carries, so stuff like Ashe still open. Corki could still be one of those options as well, so I'm curious to see what the bans will finally end up landing on. We're going to see an Mbessa ban, which does make some sense into Akira as a kind of more carry-orientated player, so getting that out of their hands. And the Cho'Gath, kind of surprising there, but definitely has picked up some favor across, but I think that might be a little bit of a read from their side. That's generally what I would think is like, oh, we heard something, possibly.
Yeah, well, Quastec has been playing the Cho'Gath, and Cho'Gath, despite the nerfs, is still a menace, so they don't want to deal with that at all. I think that's reasonable from inside. The Aurora pickup off rip here is something that Maelstrom's going to take, likely going to go into the hands of Quastec. Has 5 games on Aurora. Quite comfortable on this one. The other side, going to see the Ashe go down. Very reliable. Again, full fearless. It's only going to be Min Superior who get their hands on this Ashe pick. So something that's very valuable, something that's in both the pools of these AD carries, something they're going to be happy about. And they're going to follow it up with a Volley Bear. So going for a very aggressive, maybe a dive-oriented style, it looks like Min Superior, they want to play with early tempo and just get off to the races with an early lead.
Yeah, with those two picks, their single target lockdown is extremely good. Any target that doesn't get CC'd will be blown up there. Jarvan getting locked in here as well as a supplemental pick with the Aurora. That should be a very powerful 2v2 they can kind of leverage. Volibear also not exactly the strongest dueler there, so definitely can get blown up if the fight is going early enough. And we're going to see a pretty safe AD carry pick here with the Ezreal. Oh, unfortunately, they don't have the guaranteed support pick here, so I'd expect some supports to get banned out before you do get to pair it up. Stuff like the Karma come to mind especially, or the Leona potentially, just as a good, nice engage to follow up in the Jarvan. And yeah, now we see the Galio getting locked up, so good global pressure, especially to match out the Aurora. That's still going to be a little bit scary of a 2v2. Your damage just isn't that front-loaded for the Volibear and the Galio. It's going to take some time before that really comes through. So I think Aurora should actually have a great time in lane, which could be a great sign going forward for Mint.
I'm surprised that we didn't see a Rakan ban end up coming through from the side of Mid Superior. Aethel plays a lot of Rakan. I think Rakan would go really well into this team just because you have solid 2v2 down in the bot side. You can follow up the big engage from the Aurora and the Jarvan on top of that. I think that could be something that Maelstrom look to get for themselves. On the other side, we got a heavy engage team fighting composition from Min Superior. We see the Volibear and the Xin Zhao in the same team composition, so that is very clear. Akira Howe is going to take that into the top lane. They've played it before. They like that Volibear top, and they are saving their support for that counter pick. Be interesting to see what Aethel goes into. They're going to take the Gnar into the Volibear, so vulnerable in that mini four, but can Kaido the Volibear make his life a little bit more difficult and just add on top of all the engage potential and CC threat that this Maelstrom team has. And there's the Rakan to come on through, so potential lockdown support in response for the other side of Mid Superior. Nautilus, things like the Leona could be good here to try and lock him down.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Leona, but it's going to go for the Melio, so a bit more of a safe pick. They feel comfortable with the amount of CC they have, and they want to nullify some of the engage potential of the Rakan. I will say the Charm, the knockups are not going to really be cleansable, as well as that Cataclysm, so still got to be very careful if you are that Ashe, and it will be Volibear going up to the top side with the Xin Zhao going into the jungle. We did see some weird Xin Zhao top shenanigans before, but it won't be in this one. Just going to be the Volibear, so that's actually a great matchup for Gnar. Volibear has a real hard time sticking, actually, on that top side, so I think definitely going to have some sort of strong navigation tools if you are going to find that. Definitely going to have to rely a bit on Vertigo to set those up. So, but besides that, I think all the other lanes are pretty kind of even. I like Galio Aurora is pretty even, I'd say, and then on top of that, you have the Ashe plus Rakan, or not, Ashe plus Melio versus the Ezreal Rakan, which should be about even. You expect the Ezreal to just kind of get out of this one pretty scot-free, but you know, you never really know with jungle attention. But with it going even, I'd be very much leaning towards Maelstrom with at least the early game.
It's going to come down to a lot of these team fights, and that's basically what both of these teams are looking for. If Mint's bot lane can play with the range, the crazy range that Ashe gets alongside the Amelia, who can actually extend her range, then they can outplay this Rakan. But I honestly think Loki Dosi, who has been a big player for Maelstrom over the course of their entire split here in Titan Immortal, is in a really good spot in this game. There is some solid engage from Mint Superior's side, but if Loki takes a cleanse here, then you can get away from Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and at that point, playing a champion like Ezreal, and the front line on the other side is a Galio, a Xin Zhao, and a Volibear. I mean, Arcane Shift is going to keep you safe. You can really keep your distance here. So I'm looking towards Loki Dosi for Maelstrom's side to have a big game and some really insane pop-off potential for this Ezreal. Doesn't actually go for the cleanse, though. Ends up going for the barrier, which is interesting, which means I'm thinking that Loki and Aethel looking for more of that 2 versus 2 sort of action in the bot lane. They want to go toe-to-toe with Bubster and Oedipus.
Yeah, which would match their kind of identity in the other lanes, especially with the Jarvan as well, for some maybe cheese early ganks. Gonna be starting on that top side, so expect action towards bot at level 3. But the bot lane of Mint does have control of the bot side brush, so the first brush is definitely already going to be a bit problematic, and now spotting out Aethel, so they know they have nothing to worry about as far as action is concerned. I think this will be very interesting. I would really lean Maelstrom, though, just because of how easy this early game should be for them. I think it's a lot more tricky for Mint here, and I think Xin Zhao and Volibear really have to come out to a pretty big lead for them to really find something. A nice deep ward. It will spot out Trixui on this blue buff, as that's actually great to actually know where the Jarvan is, so pretty good call out there.
Already Ethel is starting out this lane with half HP, having to burn some extra pots, and this is the constant problem that Rakan's going to run into, is this range disadvantage. So you really have to pick and choose, if you're Loki and Ethel, when to go in, when not to go in, because if you go too far, the Ashe and plus Amelia, that's going to run you down all day, every day. Top lane is going to be interesting too. I mean, 5-on has the range advantage on the Gnar and should be able to get priority, but it's always really dangerous up against Volibear. This champion is so strong in the lane phase, can snap onto you really quickly, has big solo kill potential. Did start the Doran's shield though, so it's a little bit more defensive. Not the Doran's ring, not going to have as much burst damage. Might make it a little bit more difficult for Vertigo to find maybe invades that he wants, but I honestly expect maybe that doesn't happen because Trixui is just looking for these ganks left, right, and center on this J4. That's really what you want to index into.
Yeah, for sure. And I will make one shout out there. Akira cannot go the D ring you'd probably expect in a matchup like this, just because it's so much in Gnar's favor, especially early on. So not going to be able to get as much damage, and your mana pool really can shrink if you end up having to spam out E's just to get farm. So definitely a little bit more rough of a lane than Volibear's typically used to.
It certainly will be. We'll see how well 5-on can actually keep the space, build a CS lead, and then just be effective later on in the fights. You know, you want the Gnar into the wall, you want to play around the Drakes, play around the Grubs. Constant pressure topside is going to be good things if it is Maelstrom who do want to end up going for those Grubs. And they don't necessarily have a fantastic side laning team. I mean, depending on what you build on Gnar, you can be a little bit of that threat. But I guess in a couple minutes' time, we'll see where the priorities lie. Junglers, they're both bot side. Could see some action here. I mean, Ethel is playing super poised, trying to look for engages, finds a grand entrance there, and Loki's actually just going to arcane shift forward. They're going to drop the ignite. They are getting really insanely aggressive. Bubster wasn't really able to hit at all during that exchange, so it's a huge HP advantage for Maelstrom's bot side.
Yeah, pretty rough there for the side of Mint. The Melio actually didn't get Q level 1 or 2, so that's just a free engage as soon as Rakan hits level 3, so not respecting that level advantage. Vertigo now trying to make the best of this situation, is actually going to get a free gank here.
They're engaging when they shouldn't be because Vertigo is here right behind them, and Ethel just pops like a balloon. Now Loki is just saying, I gotta go in, otherwise I'm not getting anything out of this. It ends up being 2 kills to Mint Superior. They just were too over-aggressive. They thought maybe they were safe because Trixui was in the area. Vertigo able to punish. There's a kill on the Xin, kill onto the Ashe. That's exactly where Mint wants the gold.
Yeah, and the lane was in such a good spot. I'm surprised to not see Trixui just go for the coverage after the initial take on the scuttle there. Just allowing your bot lane to go down, definitely giving away the advantage that they had built just from getting that level 3 first. So pretty rough looks there, and they're also going to lose some minions under turret, so crunching down that gold, that CS lead just a little bit as well. So actually, yeah, I think for the most part you're pretty happy here. If you are Mint, you're now sitting up about 500 gold, and in a game where I said, hey, you probably shouldn't be winning early game.
They're going to want to skirmish too. So once this level 6 hits for Fortnite, I expect Vertigo to just get psychotic as thank you. Yeah, you called that out. Golden Gad will not let you get away with that. So yeah, if you're on the screen, you miss a cannon. My man is here to call that out. And level 6s, Enchanted Crystal Arrow, Heroic Entrance. This is big spikes for Mint side. Already having that gold lead. Look for skirmishes around Drakes, around Grubs. I expect Fortnite to get involved all across the map here. Honestly, play with that tempo if you're Mint. Like I said at the very start of the draft, I saw the Ashe, I saw the Volibear. They got to play with speed, and they just got to go and abuse the leads that they get.
Yeah. Looks like Xin Zhao's poising to go get this dragon. Gonna go for a big wrap around gank, and with this ward here, it's actually great info on where everyone is, and they're not going to be expecting Vertigo at all, and they're still missing.
Loki has flash, but here comes Fortnite as well. They're both actually going to use the flash. They both still had it from the previous play. Ethel going to use the battle dance, double battle dance actually to get on back. The Winds of War does not finish off the kill as Bubster flashes over the wall, almost ties himself to the tower, but the taunt is good from Fortnite. He should drop. It will be 1 kill back, but Vertigo ends up getting both kills. He's now 3-0 on the Xin. It's pandemonium in the bot side. Mint Superior, though, their feet are very heavily on the gas.
Oh no, Akira didn't see it, but does have the ult to actually be able to get out of this, so should be able to survive this play. But definitely very ugly on the bot side.
Oh, nice sidestep.
Actually trying to reversing it.
Oh, he's going back in. He doesn't care. Akira wants the smoke in this one. Forces back both 5 and Trixui. Really nice sidestep. Didn't have to use the ult defensively, but I guess loses it regardless.
Yeah, still goes for the play, but does chunk out Trixui on the grub, so has to be a bit more careful than he probably would have had to expect. So just going to be able to grab it up now, but, you know, they're going to have to trade Vertigo on that Drake just as a response. So very good stuff here out of Mint. The gold lead is, you know, shrinking a little bit. Aurora able to catch out a couple extra waves, especially since Fortnite did end up going down because it was pretty sloppy on the dive. Ashe way too much, way overestimating the damage there. So definitely not opportune, as now Vertigo is going to come up here and try and take this last grub. Trixui has smite, so could still contest, but it's definitely not going to be easy, especially with Oedipus in the area.
People's joining the party, and they're just trying to disturb,
and
that's exactly what Fortnite did as well, because he's just saying, you're not getting this grub without at least us hassling you a little bit. They went from Drake straight up to this, so if it is Mint Superior that gets it, they do deny the feat of monster slaying, that 1 tick towards that feat of strength. So that would be pretty nice for them, as Akira and 5-in, they're trading. get a good shield here. Fiven actually having a hard time closing the gap, but he is transforming into Mega soon, so Akira does have to be mindful of that. Does not have Stormbringer, does have the flash, does have to be careful, is going to use it immediately. So really good stuff there from Fiven in the 1v1 to force that off of his lane assignment. And Vertigo, in the meantime, just grabs on that grub and denies that feat of Monster Slaying.
Yeah, I mean, Xin Zhao hitting that Wind Becomes Lightning definitely did influence whether or not they could actually contest that. As soon as Quaztec did get hit by that, that's pretty much the play called off there for the side of Maelstrom. So nothing really going their way as far as objectives are concerned, but they definitely are keeping it close with these CS leads built in top, mid, and bot. Even the jungle, actually. So they are simply farming better at this point. 20 CS down on the Ashe. Definitely not what you want to see for a lane that should potentially be kind of even, so definitely going to need to see that gap close just a little bit.
I wonder if the damage profile of Mint Superior is going to be a problem later on, just with the fact that you're right, the extra kill in the hands of Bubster is going to be good enough to close the gold gap right now, despite being down in CS. But again, this is Ashe. Ashe isn't necessarily the highest damage dealing AD carry. Then they have a Galio, they have a Volibear who's building kind of that hybrid sort of tank, bruiser-ish, not going to be doing the most damage. So I wonder if bursting people down is going to end up being a problem for Mint in the future. But with a 3-0 Xin Zhao to start, I mean, that's not going to be a problem at all right now. And honestly, the side of Maelstrom Esports, though, isn't actually that tanky. They have Meganar, and that's about it. So the snap engages are going to be big, honestly, for both sides. You have big ultimates on either side to really make plays happen quickly.
Yeah, really good pick composition that they've drafted with the Ashe and the Galio plus the Volibear, so definitely some good lockdown for sure. Maybe not as good like big AoE damage spells. I mean, you could think of Gnar ult, Jarvan Cataclysm, Aurora Between Worlds, like everything there is just perfect for that actual damage profile here. As now Vertigo is going to get spotted on the bot side. Just going to place down a ward here and then go for a recall here just to put some pressure down and dissuade Loki Dosi and Aethel for going for anything on the bot side. As, yeah, Galio just has to make sure you are matching this roam. And I will make one specific shout out. I mean, this is a phase rush Galio, so definitely a bit more brawly. You don't have to commit so hard for Aftershock or something like an Electrocute to actually go for big trade patterns. You're pretty much going for your whole combo and you're dipping.
I wonder what the build is actually going to be for Fortnite, because it doesn't look like he's itemizing into a Hollowed Radiance or an Unending Despair or a Sunfire Aegis. Yeah, it could be something like that. It could also maybe be I don't know, a Cosmic Drive with that Kindle Gem. I don't really know. Like, I'm so used to kind of the tanky start for Galio, but maybe playing for something more damage oriented, as we're seeing a 3 versus 2 now as Fortnite joins the party in the bot lane. Vertigo wants to make this even more unfair. Trixui, unfortunately for Maelstrom Esports, is on the other side of the map, but they're getting the teleport out of Quaztec to help out the homies, make sure they're okay. Good on Quaztec to make sure their bot lane doesn't drop to that 4v2 dive.
Yeah, pretty good there. Awareness, you need to do that when you are playing those globals here. Vertigo going to cancel the back of Quaztec. This should give some time, yeah, for Fortnite to actually get back in this game CS-wise. Going to look to try and cancel it again, and is actually going to get the cancel. So Quaztec pretty much stuck here on the bot side. Ezreal now going to have to rotate towards mid to actually be able to catch up this wave. But yeah, actually really good play there from Vertigo. You know, when you don't have any camps on your side of the map, you might as well. But now they're looking for a kill on Quaztec.
This would just be salt in the wound if they ended up getting him. He's going to use the Between Worlds, gets to the edge to get on out. But Fortnite is TP. Does Quaztec know about this? I feel like he does. And Fortnite is like a shark in the water, found his prey, doesn't land the taunt because Quaztec uses a flash, but he has a flash of his own. Justice Punch is good. There is the kill that goes the way of Mint Superior. 5 for them now. The next reset of objectives is live, so it should potentially be 5 grubs for the side of Maelstrom in response, but they actually want to look for a dive onto the Volibear here, which it is scary, but they are going to get the Gnar transformation here very soon. They're just going to play patiently for that, and Aethel's actually here as well. So 3 versus 2, this should be pretty clinical from them. There's the CC, the Cataclysm, 5 on tanks the tower, but actually Akira is just tanking everything. They don't quite have the damage to finish it off just yet. Finally, the J4 can get that kill as Oedipus is here, but just a lonely Emilio is not going to be able to do a whole lot and does actually have to be careful because Trixui wants more. It looks like Oedipus is going to be all right. The trade is the Drake on the other side.
Yeah, they are going to be able to grab up that Drake, and that'll be the full Feats of War here for Mint, so they're going to put themselves in a pretty great position moving forward. It is going to be that Hextech Rocket Belt for the Galio, so a bit more damage focused, a lot more burst, And with the phase rush, you really expect a lot of surprise movement here for the Galio as far as dodging or maybe even re-engaging afterwards. But it looks like they want to stop these grubs yet again. They want to just take away any opportunity for mites. Enchanted Crystal Arrow just commenting by.
There's the
Now it looks like it's going to be a
recontrol
full 4v4.
of the river for Min Superior, and they just bully Maelstrom out of this. This is the same play they did, Golden Guide, a couple minutes ago when it was the first round of objectives. They took the Drake, and Maelstrom wasn't right on the grubs immediately, so they just walked on up and bullied them out of there and denied them again the feat of monster slaying. So right now, in terms of feats of strength, Mint has the kills, the feats of warfare already, and are 2 out of 3 on the ticks for the monster slaying. So they are very likely going to get feats of strength, and they've been playing really aggressive in this early game. It's what we wanted to see from them. I really like the way that they're playing right now, but still behind in gold. A kill onto 5 would help their case a little bit, but Mega quite tanky. Trixui is on the flank. This could actually end up being really good for Maelstrom here. 5 now going to go mini, but now Trixui jumps on in. Crescent Guard is used here from Vertigo, but he has to jump on out because the damage is really insane from Min Superior's top jungle, and they're able to find the kill. The shield from the Sky Splitter is good enough for Akira to survive for a bit longer, but 5 is going to jump in, and now it's a 1 versus 1 between jungle and top laner. I think the Xin Zhao has this. We'll see what 5 can do to kite, and he's actually doing such a good job. The way becomes lightning connects. One more audacious charge to finish off the killing flashes away from the boomerang, and now Oedipus is here as well. The Milio is ruining the party, ruining this 1 versus 1, and Vertigo grabs the kill. Big exchange topside, shut down to the Zen. Min Superior remain on top.
Yeah, but every time you see such a good play from Mint, look at the other side of the map. They somehow still have a 500 gold lead just off of the cross map. The Quaztech has been catching waves, pushing in waves, denying that gold to the side of Mint, and it hasn't mattered as much. But the plays have been going in Mint's favor, so I feel like if it keeps up, Maelstrom may find themselves with such a big lead. It could be very difficult to find, but they just need to clean up some of these plays for their side. But still, pretty good nonetheless.
It's been Fortnite playing quite selflessly on the Galio and into Quaztech's Aurora, who has the range advantage. It's going to be hard to keep up in farm. So 20 CS lead for the side of the Aurora. It's a big CS lead for Loki as well in the bot side, contributing to the fact that the gold is still in Maelstrom's favor as well. Akira, you're in some trouble, my man. He's going to use the Stormbreaker to try and buy some distance. The Flag and Drag connects. They're trying to knock down the bear, and finally they will do so. Nice play from this trio from the side of Maelstrom, able to get themselves one back. On the other side, though, the response from Mint is just going to be Bubster solo tanking the tower and taking down the Ezreal. They didn't even need Vertigo's help. They're going to grab a turret on top of this, but critically, Golden Cat, it's not the first one.
Yeah, they're going to barely lose the first turret there, but they are, they are still on track for the Feats of War, of course, so it's not going to matter too much there. But that is still a little bit unfortunate for them. As we see gold now, really the big lead is just in, actually, now it's pretty even, just top lane, really. I mean, Akira really far down, 1.5k gold down on the Gnar. 50 CS at this point is a pretty insane number. That is on track for Flame Horizon territory, so you got to be very careful with this Volibear, who, as I said, would struggle in this lane, so I'm surprised to see it flexed up. But they did not have, unless you're willing to play Xin Zhao top, definitely did not have many good options.
I'm not sure how much better Xin Zhao top would be, but we got a fight right now that's happening. Vertigo is taking kind of the 2 versus 4 here. He's going to get a heroic entrance to try and save him, and the Milio's here for some healing as well, and Trixui just does not have the damage to knock him down. He's this solo frontline right now alongside the Galio. Aethel jumps on, and finally they get the shutdown there. The Gnar is going to grab the kill onto the Xin Zhao, and 5 is actually kind of running this fight. Fortnite's getting low. Oedipus is getting low as well. 5 with the expert flank is going to be everything for Maelstrom. They get one more. Loki does not drop 1 HP on the Ezreal. Aethel is so low as well. Min Superior so close, but not close enough.
Yeah, 5 able to just clutch up there. Akira in the bush has to be a bit careful. He actually wants this fight, surprisingly, with Gnar not having any form. So just on the other side of the map, but once again, Aurora just pushing in waves, denying that gold yet again. If this is how the plays are going, even at man disadvantage, where someone's able to push out a wave so effectively, I feel like it's just going to be more rough going forward here for Mint. But, here we're going to get a replay here. It was actually extremely close on a lot of these kills, especially Loki Dosi's HP. Vertigo does go immediately onto that Ezreal, and then a nice response here from Tricksui to actually be able to lock down Vertigo, make sure your AD carry stays safe, but does exchange their life for it. But I feel like this was beautifully played by Aethel in particular, able to get the CC and still survive. And then right after that, barely living with a sliver. That is what happens with the Galio being so far down in gold. And then eventually they do end up claiming those last 2 kills. And now we have action around the Drake. This is going to be third Drake, so you want to deny that soul point. Mid control already in the favor of Maelstrom, but Mint trading the banana bush control. So definitely benefits on either side. Now going to rotate over and claim this one up, but they might just be able to take the turret here if they do index the members there. They want to just see what either team is feeling. It's not going to be so easy.
It's an interesting situation because there's the Rift Herald alive right now too, as well as the Drake. Definitely, you could give Soul Point if you're Maelstrom and fight for the Drake later on. Grab yourself a Rift Herald and play with that, but it doesn't seem like that's what they want. They want to contest this right now, and honestly, I think it's a smart choice because they're in a pretty powerful spot right now. They've been winning a couple of fights. They're jumping onto Aethel, who does get the battle dance back towards his team. Akira is also frontlining for the squad, but it's a very back and forth exchange between these two. Neither hard engaging onto the other. Mint is playing very safely underneath their tier 1, and Maelstrom really desperately want to knock that down to have more room to play with, but Akira might have just jumped way too far forward, is going to get the Breath of Life from the Milio and use the Stormbringer to jump on out, but now he wants to go right on back in, flash forward here from Fortnite to try and find some taunts, gets it onto 2. 5 and transforms into the Meganar, but isn't able to get a whole lot. Aethel jumps into the backline, but is only going to die. Now Tricksui is here in the front line, but the backline of Mid Superior is completely untouched. The J4 is going to get run down by the Ashe, and Bubster will grab that kill. Fight win here for Mint Superior. They should be able to grab themselves Soul Point off of this.
Yeah, so disconnected there from Maelstrom. They did not know whether they are diving or they are trying to peel back, and there was just a kind of different identity on either side, and the Galio really burning so much of Loki Dosi and Quastek's time. Didn't even get to use the Between Worlds to add that extra damage to be able to claim up a kill, so pretty good stuff there, and just a little bit of an overcommitment and miscoordination pretty much just sealed the deal there for Mint. They're able to close the gold just a little bit more, 700 now the difference. Most of that still sitting on Akira, I'm sure, but they do claim up that objective there, so still pretty solid. Akira looked like completely dead, but Melio doing Melio things with the cleanse, able to keep the bear alive, and then a nice re-engage here is going to force out 2 big flashes, and there's no real re-entry tools for anybody except for Aethel. Goes in, and they're just trying to kill the volley bear, who flashes out at the very end, and Loki Dosi spends the time to try and chase the bear, but it's just not gonna happen, and that's gonna be the full fight win there for Mint.
It was such a good ultimate from Fiven, but there was simply no follow-up from the side of Maelstrom right now. Doing such a good job with Fortnite in that back line, be in the tank, be in the Galio, even though, again, we were talking about what is this Galio going to build. I said, oh, maybe it's Cosmic Drive, yada, yada, yada. The Kindle Gem turned into a rocket belt. So that's what we're ending up going for. More of the damage, still quite tanky in terms of the HP, as Fiven is in a little bit of trouble here. 2 versus 1, he's going to fall shutdown again. Somehow Fiven is a shutdown every single time he goes down, and that kill is going to go to Vertigo, who is 7-1 on the Xin Zhao. I talked about this jungle matchup. 2 junglers who have pretty big pop-off potential. It seems like this time around, Mint Superior's jungler is getting that exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, now they're going to try and force down mid. At this point, Maelstrom not able to find many good team fights, so they're just going to rely on the man advantage and the fact that Aurora has the side lane advantage as well. Try and leverage kind of map movements here, but they're going to look for a big fight here. TP coming through, Galio already kind of on the backside. Doesn't want to overcommit just yet, but it is going to be a 4v5.
It's the Otacon that's the big prize, and Vertigo's jumping straight on forward. He does not care. He's got the Crescent Guard to keep himself safe. Aethel's in the backside. Now Akira is quite deep as well. The rest of the team is going to join up. They're in this choke point just outside the Otacon pit. Still very healthy is Tricksui. Here comes a True Shot Barrage. That's actually going to hit a lot of members and bring the health bars of Mid Superior quite low. Fortnite is now the solo frontline, keeping 3 people at bay. Loki's getting quite low, but Vertigo jumps back in on the other side and knocks down the Recon. Getting so low is Fortnite. The Between Worlds comes through as well. This Galio is still somehow alive. Loki's trying to hit from the backside, but he just can't quite get there, and the Galio lives. How does he live every single time? I have no idea. 4 down. Loki might be next. Sky Splitter not going to connect. Akira in pursuit. The Otacon goes the way of Mid Superior, who have been team fighting like beasts in this game number 1.
Yeah, super solid victory there for Mint. A little bit early there from Aethel and Fiven there to actually find the fight. So just going to get taken down immediately by Bubster and Vertigo. And that's that giant Xin Zhao that we've been talking about, just doing so much damage. So let's see a replay of how this happened. So pretty weird movement here from especially the carries. You know, you're isolating yourself here, where Trixui has to make a decision on where the fight's actually going to go and just decides to kite out here on Akira. But Loki Dozy just taking so much damage from the chip, from the Galio, able to do a nice true shot barrage, and Aethel is just going to get surprised by where Bubster is, and Vertigo as well, just not realizing it, and then just get a nice crystal arrow above. And then on top of that, barely able to live is Galio. Just
Crazy.
Jarvan not doing the damage that you'd expect, just with the gold disadvantage, plus this champion just being a lot more front-loaded, able to survive out that one.
Oh man, I don't know. How is it possible? You would think Fortnite is building the tank Galio. Bro has no defensive stats. He has health from the rocket belt. Other than that, he's got a needlessly large rod. He's got the sorcerer shoes. Bro has a dark seal. That's how confident this guy is. He knows he's not dying. He has a finished shadow flame. This is insanity. I love it though. And Mint have been team fighting so insanely well. Maelstrom on the other side, they're really struggling to get the value from the composition that they've drafted, right? They want to go in at the same time. They want to get a big Gnarl. They want to get a Cataclysm between worlds. They want Aethel following up with the quickness over the top. But in a lot of these fights, Aethel has been in the backline getting multiple people with the quickness, but he has no follow-up. Or on the other fight, it was Fiven who's in the backline, just no follow-up. The coordination of Maelstrom is really faltering in this game. And right now, Mint is the beneficiaries of that lack of, I guess, communication or lack of synergy, whatever it is. Maelstrom needs to kind of pick that up here in the next couple of minutes as they fall very far behind here. They're now down 2,000 gold. Coming up in 15 seconds is a potential soul for Mint. They got to fix their issues right now. This is kind of their Hail Mary. Wouldn't be the end of the game if the Cloud Soul went down, but Loki has actually found Oedipus caught with his pants down, and that's really good here for Maelstrom. And now Trixui finds Akira. It's 5 versus 3. What can Vertigo and the rest of the team do? Bubster is still untouched. Bubster is free hitting. He finds one kill, but here comes the between worlds. Big Gnarl from Fiven, but still the Ash is untouched. This fight is so close. Somehow, some way, Mint Superior is winning this fight. Vertigo and Fortnite are 2 versus 4. 3 versus 5 is what the fight started as for Mint, and still they somehow come out on top. They just refuse to lose. They are so good in this game. They win the fight. They get the soul as well.
Yeah, what a huge fight there. Able to just split out the damage, and Bubster doing so much on the backside. And I really got to call out something that I've noticed throughout these fights. Aurora and Ezreal are just much more difficult damage dealers to kind of execute. So some skill shots going wide really does cut down the damage on this comp significantly. When I see Gnar, Jarvan, and Rakan, that's not that high damage. You really need the Aurora and the Ezreal to be full firing. And Oedipus, this could have been a great opportunity with them taking down Oedipus immediately, and then also getting the bear as well. But nice play here out of Bubster, able to flash away from the knockup, which definitely would have sealed the deal there. Able to get a ton of damage, and then here comes the kite out from the rest of the force here. And then a little bit of miscoordination is going to result in Aurora going down pretty early on, since you weren't able to get the E damage there through onto the Bubster, and then they just slowly but surely chase out the rest of these kills and get that ace. So all those woes from the early game don't really matter now, sitting 4,000 gold up.
You know what that fight really reminded me of? And I'm not going to turbo glaze here and say that Mint Superior is T1, but that reminded me very much of the ending of Worlds 2024. For T1, it was a Galio, it was a Xin Zhao, it was an odd person fight, and they still were able to kind of beat the odds and still win it. It was very similar, as Kaztek is now very much in trouble, and Akira just sends him to the grave. That was not even close. The bear was angry and just stomps on the bunny. Apex Predator here inside of the jungle, inside of a lane, but that's the green light for Mint Superior to start up this Baron.
If that's what an underfed Apex Predator can do, imagine one that's fed. Kaztek just not expecting the damage, and now with your Aurora down, as I said, you rely on your Aurora and your Ezreal for damage here, and now with the ult coming through, they're looking for Loki Dozy.
Oh, Loki's in so much trouble. The bane of his existence is that enchanted crystal arrow. We said it at the beginning, and it ends up reigning true and being what seals his fate. They're continuing to push. The breath of life is going to cleanse all the CC. Fiven's in trouble. Everyone else is in trouble. So many low health bars. They're chasing him down. They're going to find these kills, certainly, and probably just run it down and end this game. The burn is going to knock down the J4. Kaztek and Aethel, the only ones that are left. The inhibitor is going to go down surely, 5 versus 2. They push for the end. Cloud Soul in tow. The healing from the Milio. Nowhere for the rest of Maelstrom to go. What a dominant game team fight wise from Mint Superior, forcing the rest of Maelstrom back into their fountain. They have the wave. Death timers are too long from the side of Maelstrom, and the Nexus will go down. Game 1 goes to Mint Superior in the semifinal here in Titan Immortal.
Mint makes it a bloodbath, and they're able to come out the victors. I mean, we saw throughout that game, yes, they are the better team in team fights and kind of awareness of where you need to be in your positioning and stuff like that, and also some of their priorities as far as what objectives they will go for. But, you know, they were losing some stuff on the other side of the map. Maybe their lane matchups didn't go exactly as planned, so it wasn't exactly the cleanest game. But at the end of the day, they still come out with a very solid victory as they just out-team fight Maelstrom throughout that one.
It was every single fight. They were just outplaying. And honestly, the real nail in the coffin was that fight where we said the side of Maelstrom had to kind of pick things up. They had to find the one fight that they need. It had to be around the soul because you don't want to give Mint the soul. They get 2 kills. They get Oedipus. They get Akira. That's the best situation you could possibly get. Like, maybe if Bubster was picked off, it would have been better, but still, 5 versus 3, they had it. That was their moment, and they still could not capitalize. And heroics there from Bubster, Fortnite, and Vertigo, and especially Vertigo in that game. What a phenomenal game on the Zinzao, absolutely running the map, did such a fantastic job, pretty much emanated everything we were saying about how this jungler has the potential to just go crazy in these games. 11-1 on a champion like Zinzao, that's like Graves, Belvet, these carry jungle numbers on something that can carry games, but isn't necessarily as known for those crazy performances. A great game to start for Mint Superior, and they start off 1-0 in this best of 5. When we return, game 2 is on the horizon. Hold tight. We might have a whole lot of games left ahead of us, and we're going to bring that to you right after this. back with the semifinal matchup here in the Titan Immortal League, and it is Mint Superior who have struck in first. A very dominant game, number one, through and through. Individual play from Maelstrom Esports, pretty good. CS leads, keeping the gold even despite being down in kills, and then it came to those neutral objectives, Golden God. It came down to those team fights where Maelstrom had to use that really nicely constructed team fight composition that they built, and well, that kind of just fell apart for them every single time.
Yeah, definitely was not exactly optimal in that one. So Maelstrom definitely going to have some pieces to pick up as they go forward here. But Mint is coming out to a nice early lead here. I think they had pretty good pieces. Akira was down at 1.5K, had some really big jungle attention, and still kept it in the game. I mean, they still got that solo kill on the bot lane on Kaztec, so still pretty well played nonetheless. But definitely gonna need to see how the rest of the game ends up going out. Obviously, none of those 5 or 10 champions are gonna be able to be played again, as this is Fearless, as pretty much the entire global scene is now Fearless. So that's going to be something that, hey, we did it here first. Well, not first, but like kind of second. So, got a shout out there. So I will say, pretty excited to see how the rest of the series goes. Just because as the pools shrink, especially for stuff like carry top lane players, it really could get pretty pinched, especially since they also agreed on the background that they are going to be going full bans for game 4 and 5. So that means, let me do my math real quick, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Like literally like 100 champions are going to be gone if we go to game 5.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. There's a whole lot of picks that'll be dwindled down. Champion pools will be thinned. There's still a lot of picks that both players in each role on every team, I guess you could say the shared pool is the better way of saying it, available. Things like Cassante for top laners, Jace, both of these top laners like to play. Varus is a big pick for both Bubster and Loki, although it was Mint who ended up opting into banning that away. But if we talk about Maelstrom and patching up their gameplay a little bit from what happened in the previous games, honestly, I mean, Trixui's played a lot of J4, but get Trixui on a carry. Like, he popped off on the Diana and the Pantheon in their series against Team Coconuts, and they felt like a team of individuals in game number 1, which obviously is not what you want in a team game. But if that is the case, then just give each other picks that you can pop off on. Give Trixui a carry jungler, let him get some resources, let him farm up, and go crazy. Go for skirmishes. If the synergy isn't there, I want to see Maelstrom go into something like that. And on the side of Mint, try and deny that from happening, because really they look so much better when it comes to the team play thus far.
Yeah, so they're going to go with the same bans here, really shrinking down that jungle pool. Those carry junglers getting taken off the table, Gwen, Lilia, Viego. Last time we saw Varus here, so they're just going to keep up the trend so far. They don't really want to change too much, including the sides now for Maelstrom. They want to stick to that blue side. They want that first pick, which worked out decently well with the Aurora, but honestly could not come away with a big lead as they moved forward into the mid-game there. So Karaban and Bessa Cho'Gath, pretty much exactly the same bans. Are we going to get... We cannot get a salty run back. So what are these teams cooking?
I wonder, okay, so Cassante again, Jace, these are picks in top side that both of these top laners like to play, but you know what? They're listening. I think this is going to be a Trixui Pantheon, and they're just going to give him a carry champion and let him go crazy and try and dictate the pace of this game. So I already like what Maelstrom is doing. The response is going to be Rek'Sai. So this is a Vertigo pocket pick. Has played the Rek'Sai twice so far in Titan Immortal this split, and I guess, the interaction with Pantheon, he jumps in for a stun, you get the Unburrow, you can cancel that. I guess the matchup is good. Having a deep champion pool like that can be nice. This doesn't really take away from the general shared pool. It'd be interesting to see this jungle matchup. This is really the kind of stuff I was looking forward to when I talked about this matchup earlier.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised to see Corki get dropped out of priority just a little bit. Like, the first pick Pantheon's pretty surprising to me, and it's what they decided on their blue side. Hey, that's what our first pick's going to be. It is flexible, so they can pair it up with this Kalista. It's honestly not a bad pairing at all, especially if you don't pick something that is very good at kiting out the Kalista and the Pantheon in the support position. So Corki could really be exposed here, as Ahri's going to get locked in here, so I'd be a little bit careful of stuff like Vi if the Pantheon does end up going down there. So I think that's definitely something you're going to want to ban out here. Yes, it's not the best carry pick anymore, but still definitely a potent 2v2 on the mid lane there, and especially with Hui being a very, very easily pickable champion for something that has CC immune, definitely would be a little bit scared to keep that as the main lock-in here, as they're going to ban away Poppy and the Jace, so some more top lane or jungle picks there. The Olaf going to be the final ban there for the side of Mint, so they're kind of leaning towards something like a tank, it looks like, if I had to imagine binding away that Olaf, so we'll have to see what is cooking here for Akira.
Well, both teams need a little bit more of a reliable go button. I'm honestly surprised that Mint is indexing into taking away top laners, because the way that I view both of these teams is they're very bot lane oriented. Both of their AD carries are kind of the stars of the show alongside their junglers, and you can kind of see that with the lock-in here for Mint Superior. They're just grabbing Cassante for Akira. They don't really care to put a whole bunch of emphasis on their top laner side. Now, that being said, the response into this Cassante is the Aatrox. I would like to see something turbo aggressive from Aethel, something like a Nautilus, something like a Leona. If they play Renata Glass, I don't think they do, but pull that out. Okay, they do. They do end up playing Renata Glass. I didn't see a whole lot of it, but this is the staple bot lane combination. You have a low range matchup in the Corki. You can really do some damage down here, and if Loki gets ahead, we know what Loki can do for this team. So I'm really happy to see that come through from them.
Yeah, and a nice response pick there of the Karma. Keep it a bit more of a ranged matchup. Don't allow the Kalista and the Renata to actually get that big pressure that they're able to get with the handshake, plus all the Rend spears there. So I think that's a pretty good answer. I'm kind of surprised to not see Nico instead of the Renata here, just because I feel like Nico has insane value into Hui and the Corki as well. But still going to be able to just survive it out and have a great combo there with the... I'm not gonna go for the name. You got the name. I know you. You got the name, Ferris. What's Renata's ult?
Hostile takeover.
There you go.
I kind of, you know what? I'll admit, Golden Gad, I kind of zoned out there because our producers were zooming in on the lizard, and I was like, I was just
Cool
starstruck
lizard.
I was starstruck about the lizard, and then he asked me, what is it called, Ferris? And I was like, oh boy. What did he even say?
What
I
is
don't even
what?
know. I was so into what the lizard was doing on the screen. But we got a flash burn already, by the way. Bubster is going to be without that. That's the handshake start for the Renata Glass. They just go on in and they get it. It was the flash burn, flash for flash. Not bad though. And actually, an interesting note, this is Aethel's very first game in Titan Immortal on Renata Glass. So a little bit of a interesting development here. Maybe picked this up on the way to the series, the week off that they had been practicing it in some solo queue. We'll see how well Aethel can do on this. And again, back to that conversation about this bot lane duo. They want to get ahead, and they're going up against a pretty sort of fierce combination in itself with the Karma and the Corki.
Yeah, definitely a little bit scary there with both of these champions Qs. Gonna land the handshake, so get some good damage in, and they're gonna go for the exhaust early on. This is actually really good here for Mint, as they're gonna go for the long trade, and Loki Dosi doesn't have a good way of healing up like they did in the last game with the help of the Rakan there. So this is actually a pretty good start here for the Karma Corki. Just a little bit over indexed there for Maelstrom.
Karma has the range, so if they have an HP advantage, it's going to be so hard for Loki and Aethel to actually play, because she's going to be threatening with those mantra Qs, and your health bar is going to be dropping. At the very least, they get priority. They get the level 2 first. They can push out this wave. They can look for a cheater recall if they want, or they can just use the pots and heal on up, as we do see full clear coming through from Trixui, at least on this side of the map, as well. Actually, Oedipus is getting quite low. Stepped up, level 1. That's a big mistake right there. You can't be making... Those are key mistakes that you just can't make. Stepping up level 1 when the other bot lane is level 2. I mean, you have no business stepping up like that. Now they might actually look for a dive here. They should potentially have bailout if they do hit level 3 off this wave, which I don't think they're going to. But this is a dangerous spot here for the side of Mint Superior's bot lane.
Yeah, if Aethel still had that flash, it would be an instant snap engage there, but has to play it a little bit more safe. Now, for Trixui, gonna realize, hey, I have a window here with the bot lane prio to actually go for the Rek'Sai here. Gonna get spotted out with the Tremor Sense here, so Vertigo's gonna have some sort of info, but they don't know where Aethel and Loki Dosi are now. So they aren't moving too much. Aethel gonna get spotted out by that, but that is blue buff taken away, as Vertigo's gonna have to sulk away towards that Gromp.
There's simply nothing Vertigo can do. It's Castech with priority in the mid lane. It is both Loki and Aethel with priority in bot side. So, and they're there first. So he can't really go for that. He can't look for a smite steal, because if he does, he's going to get jumped on. He's going to get instantaneously killed. And because of that, it will be a camp advantage here for the Pantheon. when he finally gets around to clearing away his camps. Now, last game, we saw Vertigo get involved very early on in this bot side. This gank is going to be a little bit more difficult to pull off. There is no flash on Aethel, though, so that could be a target that they look for. Loki and Aethel, they're in a bit of an interesting position. It looks like the Renata Glass is actually just going to go down. It's the exact same play as last game. Vertigo getting involved on the map. They almost knocked down Bubster in return. The Ignite is not quite enough. The Rend is not quite enough. And Min Superior strike first.
Yeah, arguably Vertigo on the... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this game, but, you know, easy to execute ganks has definitely been the MO so far for Trixui, and so far it's worked out better for Vertigo in both of these ones. And, yeah, that's actually a really good sign going forward. Hui gonna spot out that Trixui is taking that Raptor camp, so gonna have some info about the pathing of this Pantheon. And Vertigo's just gonna go for a
Here
gank.
comes Vertigo. Once again, all over the map, forces the flash, dodges away from the charm. That was quite nice. Trixui is here, though. It's level 4 to level 3, so they do have to back on off. They a little bit cautious around this Pantheon, still quite strong. And it looks like Trixui's actually going to get double crab on top of the fact that he took the respawn Raptors of Vertigo and took away the blue. So there's a massive advantage in just tempo and CS for the side of Trixui. So at the very least, that's going to be good for him. But the kill that Vertigo actually got in the bot side kind of evens that out.
Yeah, definitely. So now they're going to be just fighting it out just a little bit. I mean, on the top side, I could see Fiven getting ganked here. Akira getting pretty dangerously low. I'm not too sure on how long it'll be before level 6, but Vertigo could make a difference here. Just going to go for a wraparound to take away the Scromp, knowing that Pantheon did go for the recall. And maybe just trading top side, bot side, but I'd be a little bit scared of the rotations from the Ahri, especially. Kostek should have that Spirit Rush very, very soon, so could be a real pressure point that they can exploit. As no real big CS leads, I'll say, at least besides the top lane, which you kind of expect. The Cassante was going to be counterpicked nonetheless, which is why they ended up banning towards top side, but still, 15 CS is nothing to scoff at.
If Ivan seems to be the top laner that has wanted to get these counter picks, despite being on blue side both games, it's got a solid matchup. Min Superior is very willing to just first pick for their top laner, and it's usually to Akira's detriment. Last time, it didn't end up mattering in the end, but we're going to see once again a attempt at this gank, and that was such a good pullback. It cancels the first charge of the Spirit Rush from Kostek, and the Spiraling Despair is enough to finish the kill. That was gorgeous from these two. Fortnite on the way does such a good job, gets a second kill there for Min Superior as the Corki killed the Callista. Wait, what the hell just happened over here?
Yeah, the Corki killed the Callista in a 2v3, I think.
That's what I'm saying. I'm confused.
Yeah, that's just everything's answering Mint so far. So let's see that replay on what exactly happened. You have Trixui going for a gank, takes some turret shots. Oedipus skulking away, trying to get out. Loki Dosi, the turret didn't refresh, brother.
Gosh.
You can't be walking forward. Just immediately gets taken down. 2 shots, and he's gone.
That's so devastating because as well, this is such a volatile bot lane matchup. You cannot fall behind if you're playing Callista. This champion just sucks if you fall behind. So losing that kill, committing those resources from Trixui as well, that time he invested into making that play happen. Well, in the meantime, Vertigo got a kill with Fortnite and got the grubs. And they're not even really in position right now to take this Drake just yet. They are moving to it now. They should be able to secure it. So at the very least, they can probably trade neutrals. But right now, I mean, it's another kind of disastrous early game for the side of Maelstrom when it comes to the kills. And this time, they don't necessarily have the huge advantages in the lane to bail them out of this as Bubster walks up, gets the ward down, and does not get hit by the handshake. Thankfully, because that might have meant death, but there is still all sums available aside from that exhaust there on Oedipus's side.
Yeah, the Pantheon not really getting on the board here means that you're going to have a champion that's not exactly that useful coming team fights. So I'd say this is pretty scary. They really need some of these leads to go towards the Callista, the Ahri, stuff that will end up being the carry factors on their side, but they haven't really translated that as Akira looks for the kite, not going to land the W or the Q, so probably just going to be called off now.
Oh, he's jumping back on in. Oh, he actually might have outplayed Fiven. He dashed in as Fiven also dashed in. That could have been dangerous, but the Cassante kind of fighting back, still down a lot of CS. That did get close in the very end. No flashes burned. Just ultimate, and actually World Ender was not used from Fiven, so we'll have that ultimate advantage for the next little bit. That may be the difference maker, probably won't. This top lane has been quite quiet, but Trixui gets the Drake, able to move into the jungle of Vertigo here. Does have to be careful because the rest of the squad is on the way. They do see them, though, on that ward. Blue buff was once again secured. Trixui's done a good job of taking those away. He's gotten both. So no blue buffs for Vertigo in this one.
Yeah, but if you're going to have no blue buffs on any champion, I feel like Rek'Sai is the one that just does not care at all. That's Fury Bar. Pretty much moves up and down no matter what you got on you. So definitely not the biggest thing, but definitely taking away some of that gold is a good sign. But I think it's still in the favor of Mint nonetheless. 1k gold up just about. And they should have some good prio as the Grubs respawn and the Dragon um, was taken not too long ago. So they definitely have a good timer going forward.
Now level 6 for Trixui. Does have access to the Grand Starfall. This is where things get interesting with Pantheon. You can make stuff happen across the map. You can gank from quite far away, out of range of typical vision from in Superior side. Similar to Nocturne in that way. We'll see what Trixui can do. Can he get involved in the map? He obviously knows this champion quite well. Had great performance on it in the series against Team Coconuts. See if you can replicate that and turn it up right here. Because so far, I mean, Mint has had the number of Maelstrom Esports. Once again, they have the feat of warfare working towards getting those feats of strength. They've rotated their bot lane up to the top side, though, has Maelstrom. It's not quite time for the Grubs yet. This is a little bit preemptive. Now, in a minute's time, it will come up. But they're ready for this, and they really want to go for it. It was the first 3 that went Mint's way. This time around, it should just be the trade. And they might make a play onto 5 and Live It on the bot side here in a second as Vertigo is poised and ready to make it happen. 5 and saying, no way, I'm gone.
Yeah, so they will be giving up the Grubs for this, and with no Dragon on the side of that table, they will be able to at least grab up this full turret, I believe, with the plates. I don't think there's any contest that you could possibly muster here for Maelstrom, so they will still get those feats of war, those free stats that you could rely on, plus the extra gold from the turret. Because now they're looking for a play.
Here we go. Fortnite's in trouble. Has flash. Is going to use it. Should not be enough, though. Spiraling Despair isn't enough. The slow is not good. Kastek finds the kill. That's what we wanted to see from Trixui. Right off rip, making their presence known with that ultimate.
Yeah, good 2v2 there, or 2v1. They're able to actually find a angle there on the gank, and now Vertigo looking for a kill of their own.
He doesn't know. He does not know that Kastek has homies on the way, but what the hell? That Void Assault did so much damage. I cannot believe it. That was absolutely insane. The trade kill is there, though, and Loki's going to pick that one up. So Vertigo at least gets one, but now it's Maelstrom starting to pick up the pace here, starting to get a couple plays going their way, and Grubs are going to come out on top as well.
Yeah, they do take the Grubs here as well, so that's at least good for them. So that's going to put them at 2 objectives here. Not going to matter too much, but they are going to deny the Void Mites, which could be pretty good, especially since I expect the K'Sante to be on a side lane for most of the game. Yes, it's not like the biggest pushing pressure, but with how the game has panned out, doesn't really need to play that frontline role. They're going to be playing a lot more of a poke slash pick style on their side and trying to get away from this Ahri Pantheon engage that is so potent.
So now 2 kills into the carries of Maelstrom Esports. We got Drake coming up in a minute 15. We haven't seen a lot of action, but we've seen a couple picks. But again, nothing super insane, no super huge leads. 1,000 gold for Mint, but not something that Maelstrom can't come back from, as well. Kastek has to use the flash. Is going to be probably a detriment to this Ahri come the time that the Dragon rolls around, if it is both of these teams contesting this. And this is really where we've seen Maelstrom turn it up, as Trixui is just flashing over the wall, trying to find the damage to knock down Fortnite. They do end up finding it. Kastek gets another one. They're going to get Vertigo on top of this as well. The skirmish potential for Maelstrom is what's getting them the kills on the top side of the map. Akira found a solo kill somehow onto 5 on both teams across the map, fist fighting each other here at 12.5.
Yeah, as soon as Fortnite uses that E, immediately Trixui flashes over the wall and just tries to close the gap to be able to do enough damage, and they get a freebie of Vertigo there, as now we see a replay on what happened on the top side here. 5-in getting ulted back over the wall. Nice all in. And yeah, Akira just finding the solo kill and kind of reversing how the gold's been now up in CS, surprisingly.
Sante's been doing pretty well for himself. Again, this was the blind pick. The counter pick was the Aatrox. So being able to be successful despite having those odds against you with Maelstrom getting their pick of the litter there with what they want to take to the top side. Definitely something that Mint is going to be happy about. What they're not going to be happy about is the fact that this Drake just very cleanly went over to Maelstrom's way. They have the Rend, they have the Smite, so a lot of these objectives, if it comes down to a Smite fight and they time it right, they should go the way of Maelstrom. And they got 2 Drakes here, 13:45. Come that 23-24 minute mark, if they still maintain the position that they do in this game, could look for that very early soul. A soul that did go into the hands of Mint Superior last time around. So already looking a little bit better in that regard. They have the 3 grubs. Question is now, around these team fights, this is where they struggled last time. Can they get it together, or do they just end up playing side lanes and look for skirmishes to kind of mitigate those losses there that they had the last time around? We'll have to see. As Fortnite, well, he threw out the Spiraling Despair. He didn't really give too much despair, though, to Maelstrom.
Yeah, maybe just maybe self-own despair, you know? That's all I gotta say. Yeah, we move forward. Immediately running away and backing was the proper response, though, for sure. As now gonna get some new lane assignments here as Bubster and Oedipus move over towards that mid lane to match out this Callista and the Renata, which we haven't really seen combo at all, you know? Generally, you'd expect that to be a pretty aggressive lane where you're using both ultimates in accordance with each other to actually be able to find some pretty big openings, but hasn't really come together at all throughout this one. And now we're seeing a lot more top lane focus from the side of Mint. They're putting some nice deep they actually didn't place a single ward past the river, so I was going to say they're making good use of their time, but instead not finding too much there. Now they're going to go back towards the mid lane. They want to make sure to catch these waves, make sure Corki stays nice and safe. The only lane that really seems too exposed here is, of course, the Cassante on the top side. But, you know, will you see a Pantheon use ult towards that side? I just doubt it.
It's really risky. Cassante is Cassante. We all know how he works. He takes a long time to take down. Last time around, Vertigo in game 1 had a huge lead on the Xin was absolutely 1v9 carrying the game. This time around is very far behind on Trixui. You can see the CS lead that Trixui has on this Pantheon is very far ahead in a very good position. But on the other side, we have Akira, who's having a good top side lane. We've already talked about that. The Corki doing quite well for himself as well, had that extra freebie kill in the 2 versus 3, which went disastrously for Maelstrom. So this time around for Mint Superior, less on Vertigo, more so on the Corki and the Cassante, as 5-1 is in some trouble, has to use the flash, is going to get a whole lot of damage thrown down onto him, but has enough HP probably to stay alive. A good amount of damage on the back end, but wait a second, the ultimate was used and Vertigo finds the kill, but it's just going to be the trade because he jumped so far deep underneath the tower. And I guess it will just be that 1-for-1.
Yeah, not able to get away there for Vertigo, and they're going to trade over the Rift Herald as well, so this could really even out or put Maelstrom in the lead if they're able to grab up some of this standing gold on the top side. Now Costech has a little bit of an issue, and it's a Cassante problem. Now going to try and force him out. Costech not able to find that charm, and they're going to be able to force down this top lane turret and save the Rift Herald for a future play.
We're seeing a teleport coming through from 5 to the bot side to try and save this tower, and he's not going to be able to do that, but will he be able to find a kill on an overextended Fortnite? That's also not going to be the case. So we're seeing a lot of cross-map plays, a lot more of a macro-intensive game this time around. The Rift Herald and the Tier 1 in the top lane for Maelstrom. The kill, it ended up going 1-for-1 actually, plus the Tier 2 though. So big gold injection into Fortnite there. I wonder if that will be enough to finish item number 2. It will. Shadow Flame in the hands, actually skipping the Sorcerer Shoes altogether just to get that 2-item spike. A minute's time, we have that Ocean Drake fight that's going to touch down, and it's a big fight for both of these teams. It'll be soul point potential for Maelstrom, and for Mint, it's about denying that soul point and making sure that a soul potential doesn't come as early as around that 24-minute mark for Maelstrom.
Yeah, as now they are going to be looking to get a pick here on the mid lane. They're all sitting in that bush. Karma has an inkling there, able to actually spot out Aethel there with the Mantra Q. They're trying to find a full 5v5. We saw a similar situation just last game, and it turned out pretty good for Mint, so we'll have to see if that ends up being the case again. Rift Herald's going to get the charge through, so they're going to take down that turret, which should give them a lot more space as they try and whittle them down before this dragon spawns.
I think Akira is going to be so pivotal in these fights, so tanky on this Cassante, not a lot of tank killing power, if I'm being totally honest, on the side of Maelstrom, they have a Callista who isn't necessarily in the best position in this current state of the game gold-wise. So to take down a Cassante who's pretty well fed, has a good amount of gold into his system, it's going to be hard for them to actually knock him down. So pay attention to how well Akira is actually dissuading people in the front line, buying space for both Fortnite and Bubster to do the necessary damage to win these fights. And it feels like Maelstrom, they don't feel like they have the chops to go toe-to-toe. They concede the Drake, so that dream of a potential early soul has now gone down the drain.
Yeah, not going to be finding it. I think the chunk was just good enough to actually force out. And yeah, Maelstrom losing a little bit of their tempo that they had for so long in the game. But this game is super even. If you look at the gold graph, exactly the same. I mean, I'm watching them tick up at the exact same time as well. This is absolute insanity. Until just now, there's a little bit of a delta. But yeah, definitely a super close game. And team fighting wise, since I didn't really comment on it before, I'd probably still give it to the side of Maelstrom. If their execution's good, Akira.
It's going to be in some trouble. He's way out of position. He's got no friends around him. What can this Cassante do? He finds a pathway to get a 1 versus 1 for a small moment, but he's accepted his fate. He actually flashes away, but I don't think that's getting you anywhere. Akira is definitely going to fall. They're actually TPing for this, though. He's delayed a whole lot of time, but now Vertigo is in a 2 versus 1 himself. There is a TP from Fortnite, but this Rek'Sai is not tanky at all. He's just going to drop now. Fortnite has to run for the hills, but here comes a Grand Starfall. It's not quite going to be enough. The Fear does connect a good chunk of damage onto Trixui, but +2 kills for Maelstrom. Big macro mistakes from Mint Superior side.
Yeah, unlucky for them that the Otacon is not on that bot side. So definitely not going to get as much advantage as possible. You know, Trixui taking a huge chunk there. Surprised not to see the Unending Despair used in that previous little poke out on the Grand Starfall.
They're
But
just
nice
going for
flash
Fortnite.
forward.
Oh my goodness. That is the Fates call used. So aggressive from Loki. I'm surprised they just sent it like that. I mean, they get flash for flash, but that's also flash off of Loki, who's now going to be in a much more vulnerable position. So we'll see if that ends up paying off from Maelstrom's side. But again, I will reiterate this Callista, not in the strongest of spots right now, is still a what feels like a whole item behind Bubster on the Corki, who is working towards that Mana Moon power spike and still waiting on that Rage Blade for Loki. So I don't know. Indexing, going all in for someone like Loki, I think it's still a solid play for Mint Superiors, but again, we'll see what the implications of that flash for flash trade will be later on.
I'm pretty surprised to see Loki Dosi look for that play. That's usually a play you'd reserve for something like a 3 or 4 person group, but just seeing it on that solo member is a little bit surprising and kind of maybe shows some desperation that they want to get this game rolling before the Baron does end up spawning. Maybe they're not so confident in their team fighting ability here in this one, so we'll have to see if Maelstrom's able to really stabilize here.
I don't think Oedipus knew what was waiting for him on the other side of that brush. And actually, Castek also did not know what was waiting for him on the other side of that brush. It might have been dangerous for the Karma. Dead even in gold in the mid lane, a 1k lead there in the jungle is what we expect. That's the big CS lead that Trixui has been doing a good job this game. But again, we're getting to that sort of mid portion of the game. Corki is scaling, Hwei is scaling, Cassante is going to get super tanky. The later portions of the game, I definitely favor Mint Superior. So I feel like that timer that you talked about, Golden God, they feel rushed. I feel like that's definitely settling in right now for Maelstrom as they try and make a play onto Fortnite, but it just does not work. The fancy feet of the Hwei gets him out to safety, and he will live to see another day.
Yeah, but they're just trying to burn resources. But honestly, every single time Maelstrom does that, they actually end up burning even more. You know, Trixui using the flash there to really little effect. And that's a pretty valuable summoner, especially if you want to find some of those backline threats from the side of Mint. And they don't have the best front line besides the Cassante. So if you can catch out a man advantage, you could really find it. But without the Pantheon flash, you can't snap engage as easily. And you also lost your Callista ult, or just Callista flash ult combo. So yeah, really your options for engaging for the next 2-3 minutes are really going to be limited compared to where they were just a couple minutes ago.
I do think the looks have been quite solid as Kastek could be in trouble. Vertigo thinks he's found Loki all by himself, but maybe he's just found a free kill onto the Ahri, and that's exactly what's happened. Grant Starfall comes through. Now Loki's free hitting in the backside. Trixui's being that pseudo front line. The exhaust goes down, though, and keeps the rest of the team alive. Fortnite is going to join the play. Trixui jumps back on in. The Rek'Sai ults on in as well, but the shield, the E ability is able to do so much. The bailout comes through, but there is the damage from Bubster. There is the damage from Fortnite. This backline of Mint Superior is what we talked about. The people that had to be doing the damage, and that's exactly what they do. Eerily similar to game number 1. Mint Superior win the fights.
Yeah, just a huge team fight victory there. Corki coming up huge in this one as Vertigo, you're going to see, starts off this play, gets a nice stride breaker right before the charm actually does end up going through. So Kostek is pretty much guaranteed dead here no matter what. And then it's a long extended fight here as you're going to see the exhaust come through. Very crucial to keep Bubster alive and keep those resources up for this Corki. Does end up taking a decent chunk of damage, but with the shielding, it's just not nearly enough. Vertigo does end up going down, so it looks a little bit scary here, but as soon as that Spiraling Despair comes through, all the damage comes in, and Bubster being able to save those resources you see coming into play, able to find the final kill without going down. So pretty well played there. And yeah, now that should translate pretty well into this next dragon. Baron is also coming up in just 45 seconds, so there's going to be decisions to be made very soon for either of these teams. Akira already in the area. Meanwhile, Livid is still sitting in spawn, wants to get the home guard bonus on the actual TP.
Yeah, it's honestly, I do not favor the situation that Maelstrom is in right now. I don't like their team when it comes to the scaling game and when it comes to these face-offs around the neutral objectives. If they're not snap engaging onto someone for a pick, they're completely outranged. The missile barrages from Bubster are doing a ton of damage. Fortnite is destroying them with this poke now on 2.5 items with the upgraded boots. The play call from Maelstrom is just to rush down this Otacon, but this is so dangerous here, Golden Cat, because this thing shreds your resistances. It's Fiven and Kastek trying to play bodyguard for the rest of the team, but they're caught out. Fiven forced a flash over the wall. Kastek is getting very low while the rest of the team tries to get the Otacon to drop. They might be able to do it in time. They do. So the false lives are available for the side of Maelstrom. They get towards their tier 1 tower, which is fortunately still alive. But everyone from Mint Superior kind of hovering around like sharks. They're trying to find any kills they can. They actually get the withdraw off onto the Pantheon. Aethel is taking a whole way combo and almost drops immediately. Now the Aatrox is jumping on in, and 5-1 has actually found the kill onto Oedipus. It's a 3-person flank for the side of Mint. They're just going to tower dive. They're just going to go for it. Vertigo's going to tank the tower. It's not the Cassante. They don't really care. They get all the kills. They win the fight. It's not as disastrous for Maelstrom, but still, Mint Superior take over in these 5v5s, and they look just as good as they did before.
Yeah, that team fight prowess I talked about, Mint just showing it off. They are definitely flexing it. You saw how they kited out that fight well, and I was very concerned. You called it out, Maelstrom burning all their resistances there at the start of the fight, so they cannot join Kastek and Livid to actual fight that out. So now they're actually going to be fighting a little bit more pressure. They want to get this Baron off the table now, and they're going to try and sneak it. There's actually no wards in the area, so it's actually a pretty big opportunity here. Fiven will get spotted on that ward, but now they just know.
Yeah, the Scryer's Bloom kind of spoiled the party there. They're just going to go for this, though. Is Vertigo even in the area? He's here. He's looking for the tunnel. He's going to go over the wall, but it's actually going to be the Baron secured. They called the audible, and they made the play happen. They're going to lose their support. Will they lose anyone else is the question. Mint right now is fuming. They're saying, how dare you sneak away that Baron beneath our noses. Kastek gets away with the Spirit Rush. 5 unable to dash away from the root of Oedipus. And a Baron secured in what looks like an impossible situation to get a Baron. Maelstrom make it happen. The question is, what can they really actually get with this?
Yeah, using that Ahri pretty effectively there to actually zone out and use some of that damage. But now Trixui in a terrible position, has to burn flash the tether.
He gets rooted up, but Oedipus is getting low. They just burst him down. Look at that damage from Kastek. Along with the spear, Loki was able to hit as well, and the karma just explodes. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what Maelstrom want to find in this game. That is how they win, is by landing charms onto key targets and just blowing them up immediately, and then playing 5 versus 4 through there. Wait for cooldowns, rinse, and repeat. That's what they need. They get it there, but can they get a whole lot off of that is the question. There's a tier 1 that they look like they're gunning for right now.
Yeah, as they're all shifting their focus towards the bot side. Mid's pretty much clearing out all these waves, but Hui, I always say it, unsafe in the side lane, has to just delegate towards mid, so the Corki has other responsibilities to do, taking the red currently. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a tricky position just because you don't have as consistent of a side laner threat as the Ahri or even the Kalista, who really does well into some of these more tanky options. So could really just sit in a side lane and claim up all that extra bonus XP. As now we're seeing them just take over the jungle. The division is so powerful here for Maelstrom, and this is a great sign for them to be able to choke out Mint. As
Oh,
Fortnite's going to force a nice resource there out of Trixui.
and Loki has to use the flash, and now we see the recall coming through from Akira, not deciding to continue to push that bot side, wants to get back with the rest of his team and defend. Again, these tier 2s are so valuable, and we're going to see what value this Baron is presenting to Maelstrom. They knocked down 2 tier 2 turrets. Now they're actually ahead in gold instead of being behind 2-3K. That quick play, whoever was calling the shots there, that's a game-defining play right there for Maelstrom. That's game-saving and puts them in a position to win. There's still a lot of people to worry about. This backline of Mint Superior is so damn strong. Look at the items on the Corki and the Hui. That's a death cap completed for Fortnite. Any squishy target, Castak, Loki, even Fiven as well, Aethel, they will pop like a balloon if they take 2 abilities from the Hui. That's all it's going to take.
Yeah, they are now clearing out this jungle.
Oh,
Vertigo
Vertigo.
getting chunked super hard, but just going to be
was
able to
Castak.
survive out. But it's kind of evened out by the damage on Kaztek, so going to have to go for a recall here. Not too affected by the dragon spawning soon. Kaztek doesn't have the teleport in hand, so can't go for any crazy TP flanks with those deep wards that they did establish before. Fiven's actually pretty close to getting there.
They're trying to sneak the Drake, or wait, Fiven's actually just sitting inside of this brush. I thought Fiven was doing the Drake, but he's just sitting here. He's sneaky. Vertigo does not know that he's here. What is he going to be at? He shows himself now, misses the Q2, lands the Q3, pulls him back with the Infernal Chains, but this is a really awkward position for the rest of the Maelstrom team. Grand Starfall is going down. Immediately into the entire team goes the Pantheon. He almost just explodes, but fortunately able to get the damage reduction. In the front line is Akira doing so much work. The hostile takeover runs on through. On the other side, getting so close to falling, but Castek will survive. Fortnite is able to grab 1 kill, and it is traded back. 1 will fall. Trixui in the front line, flashing forward for 5 on. They found Fortnite. They take him down. Is this the fight here? Bubster trying to do his best in the backside, but it will be Fiven plus Trixui to survive. Oedipus and Vertigo, the last 2 people left. They do secure Soul Point, but Fiven just takes him down. This level 16 Aatrox is ending the world of Mint Superior. Finally, Maelstrom come online. Finally, they win a fight, and now they are poised to get even more.
Yeah, Bubster so close to clutching up that fight and actually taking down Trixui, but the E comes through and able to nullify a bunch of that damage here as we do get a replay here. Fiven going a little bit early onto Vertigo, I think kind of dissuaded the play for the most part, and then Akira finds a huge W on a Loki Dozy to stall out here, and then just a little bit over indexed, but Trixui crucially does live throughout all this entire thing with a nice W away, and then you have that hostile takeover to come through and really interrupt that fight pretty heavily as, yeah, Renata barely getting clipped by that Unending Despair, and then nice dodge away there from Trixui, who really did some all-star things in this fight, and then finally it's up to Bubster to find the damage, able to get 2 on the table, but doesn't have the support required to be able to survive that. And then Vertigo, too little, too late, flashes in, loses that Drake.
It was a close fight for sure, and Mint's carries were very healthy until they overextended. They got baited. That flank angle that Fiven found, flashing over the wall right around the banana brush to get to the back line. And Trixui is so deceptively tanky on this Pantheon. This champion, I swear, has Kale ultimate for free as his E ability. It's insane. The Sterix gauge on top of it as well. It's going to be really hard to kill this Pantheon. So patience has to be the name of the game here for Mint Superior. They start off fights well, but then they get baited into going too far forward, and that ends up being their downfall. That was the case in the last fight. We'll see if they can remedy that, as Oedipus might just die. Castek does so much damage. Bubster is too afraid to help him out because the cavalry is here. Now he Valkyrie's on in, but he's compromised his own position 2 for 1. Maelstrom, they get 2, and they might just look towards his Baron.
Yeah, that's a very successful pick there on two crucial members here for the poke composition for Oedipus and Bubster, and they're just going to be able to get this Baron, and this is the second Baron for this team because they stuck away that first one, and that's really where this kind of snowball really started, and now they're going to be clawing their way back into this, and now they've really made their leap forward to be able to establish dominance in this one. 5K gold up.
It looked like it was falling apart once again for Maelstrom in this mid game. They have turned it up in the last couple of minutes. They win a team fight. That sneaky Baron that they took turned this entire game around for them, and they have run with that momentum. They've done a fantastic job of staying in the lead, and Mint is doing trying to do their very best to keep up, but it's just not working. They have not cracked the base yet, how's Maelstrom, but they are in a prime position now to win this game. It is definitely their game to lose. Now ahead, 5,000 gold. 2 minutes to go on this potential soul fight. Maelstrom, that's what's up for grabs. If they grab the Ocean Soul up against a team that has a whole lot of poke, they're going to be doing so well for themselves. They'll land a couple of spells, they'll heal on back up, and this is one of the games where Ocean Soul really is super effective for a team. So big implications in a minute 40's time.
I think my biggest question is who is really killing this Aatrox, you know? I don't think the Hui, I don't think the Corki, Rek'Sai can maybe, not duel out, but at least stall out so you could get some more damage in. But I feel like this Aatrox in a lot of these fights is going to be pretty close to Immortal. Don't see what I did there. And then, yeah, it just seems so unlikely for them to actually be able to win out these fights at this point unless Bubster goes absolutely insane or a huge mistake from the side of Maelstrom that gives a big window like that. And they're doing their due diligence. They're pushing in their waves on time. They're actually crashing at a very similar time, which is difficult to actually execute, as now Kastek might find Fortnite alone.
So dangerous. They're looking for these flanks, and now the Grand Starfall is being used. The Pantheon's going to jump right on in. He's getting pushed back into the tower, but he's able to tank for so long, and Fortnite is down. The fight is here for Maelstrom. Into the backside is Vertigo, but he's not able to find anyone. Five, and on the other side is getting absolutely everything that he needs. All he has to do is play bodyguard for the rest of the team. They might not even care about the soul because they have found enough kills to probably just run it down, end this game, and not up this series.
Yeah, they want to find the final kills here in this game, or at least to kill the Nexus. And Karma and Cassante is a paltry defense. They're going to look for the flash forward. Aethel might go down here, but doesn't really matter too much.
He's going to do his very best. Oedipus is trying to do the damage in the backside. It will not be enough. Maelstrom have come back. They've conquered their demons. They were losing team fights again in the mid game, but it's some heroics, some excellent shot calling brought them back, and they did not drop that momentum. They ran with it, and they knot up our series 1-1. An excellent bounce back game, and I think what we drew up before this game started for Maelstrom to get themselves back into a spot to win is exactly what they did. They just played a really skirmish-heavy, individually rewarding composition for good individual play. Trixui had a fantastic game. I think Kastek was moving around the map super well with him as well. Loki did a good job along with Aethel to make sure that the tragic things that happened to the bot side didn't turn into even more tragic things, and Bubster wasn't really able to get a super massive lead off that. And I'd also think Fiven played a fantastic game on the Aatrox, finding a whole lot of flank angles that really meant the difference in the fights for Maelstrom.
Yeah, the ease of execution of some of these pick options, as well as some really good shot calling there, especially in the Baron pit for the first Baron, and then on top of that bot lane fight as well. So I'd say very well played here from Maelstrom, and that really does put them back in the series. It was I was really scared for them halfway through this game. It looked completely doomed, in my opinion, because Mint was really pulling away, and the Cassante was beating the Aatrox, and that's not really what you want to see. But somehow, some way, Fiven, got that one big fight in mid, and then suddenly things are a changing. And it's not that the players were kind of insufficient as far as skill wise. It was that they were uncoordinated in their first game, and it's really shaping up like they're finally finding that cohesion in game 2, which is a much better sign than if they waited a couple more games. So now they really put their foot forward. So 1-1 sits the score, but we still got at least 2 more.
We have a series on our hands. Exactly. We will at least go to game 4. Full fearless Game 4, champion pools are going to be pinched. Maelstrom has been in this position before in this season, going 3-2 in their previous quarterfinal series. Mint, on the other hand, a 3-0 over Dorado Zeta. We've yet to see them in this full fearless best of 5 where it will end up going 4 games, potentially even 5 with how back and forth it's been. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. We got game 3 coming up next, and when we return, we will see who gets the upper hand in this swing game. We are knotted one game at piece here in this best of 5 between Mint, Superior, and Maelstrom Esports in the Titan Immortal League. It's been pretty close both times around, pretty dominant for Mint in game 1. Maelstrom felt like they were kind of falling apart in the mid game like they did in game number 1, but they bounced back. They had fantastic coordination and fights. They each individually had a good game. They pull out the win and they bring it back. We're heading into game 3 full fearless here. But before we do that, before we head into the draft, we're going to roll on into the next episode, the next edition of Kiss, Marry, Kill on the docket to this time, Birdio, Corgi, and Renektoy. Golden Gad, we see your picks on the screen. Explain.
I mean, this is a pretty simple choice, in my opinion. You got Birdio. You know, I like it when someone looks great in an apron, you know? It's just perfect. And also he makes some amazing fried chicken. I mean, what else can you ask for? He's also always there whenever you call for him. He's instantly just, you know, heroic justicing over. It's like, wow, what a hero. That's who I want to marry. And then obviously here we got Kiss on the Corgi. I mean, that's a corgi. Like, you know, I could give it a smooch on the nose there. And then Renektoy, unfortunately, just has to go by process of elimination. And you know, I can't really feel the physical connection with a plastic toy personally.
Okay, yeah, I mean, also, okay, so we got a couple of mistakes here. I mean, I killed Renektoy. It says I'm kissing Birdio and I'm kissing Renektoy, but I killed Renektoy. Golden is also killing 2 people. I see. Golden is also killing Corgi and Birdio. I decided to give the kiss to Birdio because same kind of thing you were going on. Aside from the whole apron thing, I was just like, hey, give him a kiss. You might give me some fried chicken. That chicken looked good. I'm gonna keep it real. And Corgi, if I'm marrying the Corgi, that means the Corgi is gonna be with me as well. I would like a Corgi as a dog. I have a couple friends IRL who have Corgis, and they are absolutely fantastic. So
yeah, this one also flies.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty dope. And somehow also shoots projectiles that are quite deadly. So a good guard dog on top of it as well. So, and then again, process of elimination. Yeah, Renektoy. Sorry, bro. Just, I don't want to play with you anymore. Kind of like the whole Toy Story meme, if anyone knows what I'm talking about.
Classic.
Dropping the toy on the floor. And it's Birdio and Corgi time. You can also see Wookiee's picks as well. Marrying Birdio, giving the kiss to Corgi, and killing
What
Renektoy.
a base,
Similar to you.
Base
Similar to you,
decision.
Golden
I
Gad.
feel like me and Wookiee usually see eye to eye on these things, and I just gotta respect it.
Yeah. Well, there we go. That is Kiss, Marry, Kill. Those were our picks. And hope you enjoyed that episode. Now, back to more serious matters. Back to this best of 5. 1-1. Mint Superior, Maelstrom Esports. Mint want the blue side. They took the L last time around. So we're getting that side switch. We'll see if these bands end up changing at all. But based on the way things have been going, they were the exact same both times. Maybe because of the side swap, we get something different. But thus far, they remain the same.
Yeah, I could really see Mint dropping the Varus ban here and just going for the first pick on that one, since they are now on blue. But we're actually seeing a pretty big swap up here. The Talia now, instead of the Viego, getting banned away. What is MES's response here? Maelstrom obviously has a bit more flexibility here, and they're going to ban away that Viego. Oh, actually, that is true. But no, the Talia definitely was not banned in the last one. I'm trying to remember, but my mind is not cast away that far. But I do know the Varus was... Okay, so Talia for Varus instead. It's going to be that Cho'Gath for the final ban. So that really says, hey, we're going to pick Varus. Do you have a response pick? Or are you just going to have to change your bans around? And no, they're just going to triple dip on the jungle position. So that's free Varus over to Mint here. And Maelstrom has to have something pretty well prepared. Varus is a very dominant carry. Obviously, you lose the Karma as a pairing pick, so you maybe have a little bit less options as far as a poke option. But Varus does perfectly fine with also engage options, so I wouldn't be too concerned if I were Mint here. So we're actually seeing Lucian. Is this going to be Lucian Nami just to instantly slam it? But I think they might lock in their jungler here just to be able to avoid the pool getting too pinched here, since they did commit 3 bans towards that side. So it's going to be the Mbessa, though, that did get through in this one.
And that is likely going to go into the hands of 5, and we'll see what the response is going to be on the other side. What is Akira going to pull out? not really a Renekton player, has not played Renekton in Immortal, but is going to play it anyways. That's crazy. We're just pulling out all the brand new champions. It was Aethels were not a glass last time. This time it's the Renekton. So they said, all right, this is a good matchup. We're going to take it. This time it is Maelstrom who's picking that topsider first. Also, the whole thing with Lucian's gotten some new life. He is taking Electrocute in the bot lane right now, and apparently that's really, really strong. So I don't even think it has to be paired with the Nami to necessarily be super insane. So we'll see what the bot lane pairing ends up being. But this is what I was wanting to see from Maelstrom's side, the Trixui Diana. I can't wait for this. This is his pocket pick. He coins this basically. He is known as the Diana jungle player in Titan Immortal. I'm really excited for this.
Does Kaztech have a Yasuo? You know, that's definitely a thought that comes to my mind. Obviously, still very scary to be playing Yasuo into a Vi, but does extremely well into Varus in particular. So I could see it maybe potentially being the pick here, as Nami does get banned away. All the support pool now getting shrunken down, and with the picks getting locked in from the last couple games, you also, you know, Leona really floats up to the top of the priority list for sure. Maybe even stuff like Blitzcrank could do pretty well into the Varus. So I could see that being a pairing, but Lucian, you know, all those normal picks you do expect are out of the champion pool, except for Braum. I completely forgot there.
Yeah.
Able to lock up that one, so I also with some good protection for that Lucian against this Varus.
I think Braum is absolutely the best pick that Maelstrom could have gone for. You have so much engage on the side of Mint's superior. You have the Renekton, you have the Vi that are going to be jumping in. Braum is just going to sit in front and try to do his very best to provide the peel and the concussive blow stack that much faster when you have someone like Lucian, whose auto attacks become 2 auto attacks very quickly. It's a very staple combination in the bot side. They're going to respond with an Alistar and actually just take away the Sylas. Maybe they're doing this just because they say, okay, if we take Alistar, they may end up taking the Sylas into the mid lane, who really likes that Unbreakable Will ultimate, so we'll just take it ourselves. But the last pick is actually going to be a Jace, so this is actually interesting. Is this going to be a Kaztech Ambessa? Because Kaztech has played the Ambessa before, and it is 5 and Livid, who has a very good Jace and likes to play this pick. And now that we see the swaps come through, that is what it's going to be. We once again have a super scrappy team from the side of Maelstrom. It worked well for them last time, and they're just sticking to that formula.
Yeah, champs that spin here in the mid lane with the Ambessa and, of course, the Sylas here. And that's going to be a pretty fiery matchup. I haven't seen it too much, but I imagine both of them kind of spike it around the same time, and they both have the same weakness of long cooldowns in the early game, meaning pretty rough trading patterns. So I'm very curious to see the actual execution on both of these champions here for this one. But besides that, I think the Diana's going to have a really easy time being able to claim up all these camps against the Vi. Should be pretty smooth sailing for the most part, and then you have a lot of damage that you can kind of follow up with the Ambessa and of course the Lucian culling that I think could be pretty scary here. But you can't really understate how powerful the engage is for the side of Mint. They have Vi, they have Alistar, they have the Varus Chains of Corruption. All these options are insane when you need a snap engage to actually find something, and then you have the kind of flexible champion in the Renekton, and if that shuts down the Jace, I could really see some problems here for Maelstrom. But I mean, I just gotta respect the Diana. I you know, you've talked about how powerful it is, and I've seen it do some crazy work in the mid lane a couple seasons ago, but you know, now seeing it in the jungle, I'm very curious to see whether that'll be a kind of difference maker. But they do have Sylas to kind of balance that out. That strong ultimate now in the hands of a champion, arguably a better champion, could definitely be something terrifying if you are Maelstrom.
I'm going to be honest here, Golden Gad. I was glazing the Diana, and Trixui is a fantastic Diana, but I'm going to backtrack a bit. Now seeing the entire draft of Mint Superior, I think this is a really hard Diana game. There's a lot of melee champions, and of course, Diana likes to be in range of her targets, of course, but you know, think about it. Renekton with the Ruthless Predator stun. Vi is going to be annoying with Vault Breaker. Sylas might take your ultimate. He's really fantastic. Pulverize, headbutts from Alistar. Honestly, this is looking like a really tough Diana game because you want to go in onto squishy targets, someone like Bubster on the Varus to one-shot him. But if you're going into an Alistar who's going to pop Unbreakable Will, it's going to be hard to kill him. A Renekton with Dominus, it could be tricky, although it still could be good, but I can definitely see angles where this Diana does struggle. I do love the mind game that Maelstrom did play in this draft, though, with the Ambessa. I thought it was going to go into the hands of 5-in. Mint Superior thought it was going to go into the hands of 5, and they take the Renekton, and then they slam it in the mid lane, and they put the Jace up against the Renekton. So, I mean, Fiven's going to have to really put in the work on this Jace. It's a solid matchup. If Jace gets killed, it does get a little bit dicey. He falls behind a lot, and Renekton can build the plated steel caps and then kind of work his way through that lane pretty handily. But another thing we haven't necessarily talked a whole lot about is this bot side combination, this bot side 2 versus 2, and this super powerful Lucian Braum, who, again, against a whole team of Melee's Golden God, is going to love their life.
Yeah, the Braum definitely does a lot better into these melee picks. And I was going to say, like, Lucian and Jace really are the picks that need to pop off. I think if you are going to be winning this game as Maelstrom, that Lucian has to do a ton of damage, as well as the Jace being able to follow up on stuff like the Diana engage probably is your best AoE damage option aside from the culling. So it's definitely going to be pretty interesting to see what they end up committing for. They are going to stack in this bottom lane bush. They are expecting a bit of action since this is a Braum Lucian. But, you know, they aren't going to bite. They are just going to chill out, go for the 5-point start. Very, very default here. But definitely very interesting to see the comps here. I don't know. I always do predictions just because I think they're fun. And I'm right about half the time. So we'll see if which side it goes to. But I really do think Mint's comp is better here. Just because it has a little bit more flexibility, and then also you've answered some pretty hard options pretty well. Like Alistar is also extremely good into Mbessa. So I could definitely see it going Mint's way.
I think so too. And I think, again, I'm going to go back to my point about this being a little bit of a sketchy Diana game for Trixui. There's no big Yasuo combo, like you said. Is Caustic a Yasuo player? It doesn't seem like that's the case. He just really likes this Diana here. So I'm interested to see how he plays around this. I feel like Vi is going to be a lot stronger early on. He's going to be farming for that level 6. Maybe look to pick up a couple kills if they're free. There's a lot of skirmish potential from both sides. A lot of fighting I expect to happen. Top lane, mid lane. I mean, Ambessa Silas, that's bloodthirsty. That's insane. This is going to be, and I'm really trying not to caster curse this, but I hope this is just a full fist fight, as bloody of a game as possible, especially in a game number 3 where it's like momentum is on the line, going up 2-1 on the line. I think this is a perfect game to be in this situation.
Yeah, this is the kind of game where you will see some experimentation, just because neither of these teams have their series life on the line, so they've definitely got a little bit more room to play with. So I could really see them playing a bit more loose, a bit more free to actually look for some pretty risky stuff. But so far, not indicating that. Diana going for a full clear, actually going to walk towards the enemy jungle, wants to fight the Vi pre-level 6, which makes a ton of sense. I was saying how this isolated matchup of the Vi Diana should be very heavily in Diana's favor, and actually going to make the call to go straight towards the Wolf camp, not expecting the Vi to complete that camp already, and it might actually pay off huge there, as the Vi is actually going to queue towards that camp.
Oh, they're going to meet up now. They're
Just fight
scrapping it out in the jungle.
Jace is there.
They're going at it. I don't know right now who is ending up winning, as Loki is in the middle of the tower somehow. We're at bot lane, jungle, and he ends up just killing him, just raw in his face like that. And now in the jungle side of things, Mint Superior has found the kill. The collapse was there. The Diana, or the Ambessa rather, falls trying to support Trixui. And, you know, the early move from Akira ends up being the play that gets Mint Superior the kill on that top side. I also want to mention thank you to ALL, who rated us with a viewers count of 19. So for you guys who are just joining us, this is a best of 5 here, semifinals in the Titan Immortal League. Series tied 1-1. Let's take a look at what happened in the jungle.
Yeah, so Trixui and Vertigo just fighting it out, but the Vi is actually surprisingly strong with the help of the red buff. It does end up getting away, and now Fortnite finds Trixui on a nice angle and just flashes away, and unfortunately that means that Vertigo is gonna
Akira's dead as well.
And Akira goes down, not able to find the kill onto Fiven, and Vertigo just not there in time. So pretty well played. Now they were trying to collapse on top. They don't want to let this Jace recall for free, but unfortunately they're just gonna have to call it off, as the Diana's still sticking around in that area.
Oh, Golden Gad, I'm loving this, man. This is already shaping up to be the game that I've wanted it to be. We got early kills, we've got invades, we got Fortnite being a psychopath, running on up, seeing if he can get an invade kill up there on the top side. We got fights here, bot lane. Oedipus is going to drop here. Flash forward from Loki. Here's the Lucian Braum combination that's so powerful. Concussive blows onto Bubster as well, who doesn't have flash or barrier. One more auto attack from Loki would find the kill. The piercing light can't quite get the right angle. Aethel almost drops to the tower, but another kill to the Lucian. 2-0 now. Maelstrom is feeling themselves.
Yeah, disaster in the bot lane there. I don't know why they're walking up so far forward. The Braum and the Lucian is such a lethal combination. If you ever land that Q from the Braum, it should be a disaster. Akira barely dodging away from the Q, the damage from the
Ruthless Predator goes down. Oh my goodness, another solo kill. Lucian is dead on the bot side. Kills all over the place. 4-2 for Maelstrom. This Jace, though, is a problem. This is exactly how Maelstrom wanted this top side to go. This flex pick, this flex Ambessa ends up paying off for them. We got more fighting. 2 versus 3. Aethel and Trixui want this fight. He's got so many people he could potentially knock down, but he's stunned up. He can't quite find the damage. Bubster knocks him down. And with the piercing arrows, not quite going to take down Aethel because he flashes away. Holy crap, Golden Gad, this is exciting.
Yeah, this is definitely a slaughter game. I mean, this is going to be maybe 2 kills a minute at the very least. We're already on track for that. As, yeah, unfortunately, if you don't land the Q there from the Diana, your damage is just much more neutered. So not able to find the kill there onto Vertigo. And that's going to be the, first 3 kills going over for Mint, and then 4 going for Maelstrom, finding themselves 500 gold up at this point, despite, the Vi being at 201, which is a pretty scary metric there. Just going for the Q flash, finds Loki Dosi, not able to actually dodge away from that one. And then, this play goes on pretty long here. But Trixui, yeah, missing that Q is crucial there. And then the W damage gets eaten up by that Alistar, so there really isn't much left in the tank. So with the help of the stun from the Alistar, that's just way too much CC for the Diana to actually get the last couple autos in.
If Bubster somehow flash predicted with that piercing arrow, my head probably would have blown off my shoulders and would have went straight to the moon. That play was absolutely insane. We got 7 kills, 1 kill per minute thus far in this game. Absolutely loving it. This is before the first neutral objectives have even touched down. Now they have junglers on opposite sides. We see Trixui kind of hovering around this bot side. It doesn't look like a very good dive angle. Is just going to start up that Drake solo. 5-on, forced to use the flash. Fortnite, again, on this Silas, is tanking in terms of the 1 versus 1 because of all these roams he's looking for, but he's constantly willing to try and make plays, and we'll see if maybe Akira and Vertigo, maybe when Vertigo hits that level 6, can punish the flashless Jace.
Yeah, I will say 5-on's just been playing so well throughout this entire series. Really a standout player so far. So seeing it... Oh, wow. Okay, that was a very ambitious there from Kaztek. Just gonna ult public execution and just leave, Aura.
Back to it. Golden Gad, we can't avoid a series together without somehow mentioning that. Yeah, that's just letting him know, right? Like, I could have killed you there if I hit that, but I'm gonna let you guys live this time. And then maybe next time I come back, it might not be as good for you guys. So the mind games here, that's what's really important. That's what Kaztek was doing in that one.
Yeah, definitely. Vi able to force out Jace from protecting that red buff, but not going to be able to claim it up just afterwards. Going to be able to put down some nice deep vision, though, on that top side for the Renekton. So should keep it quite safe in that matchup where it's been a little bit Jace favored throughout it. But you see how much pressure this Braum Lucian has, as Trixui is now the one to visit on this bot side. They have to back all the way up. That is double level 6 for both of these bot laners. Could be disaster.
Oh,
Oedipus, though.
Winter's Bite. That's so clean there from Aethel. That's actually going to secure them the kill. There's no flash on Oedipus's side. That Winter's Bite meant everything. Another kill goes to Loki. 3 kills, 30 CS ahead of Bubster. This is a disastrous bot lane for Min Superior right now, and everything that they could have wanted in the bot lane for the Lucian Braum.
Yeah, the Lucian Braum really on the table now, going for that Essence Reaver here. Not going for that Electric Goop build that you did call out in Champ Select, just going for the PTA as per usual. But still, showing real dominance here. As soon as Braum ever hits a Q, the Alistar really doesn't have a great way to get away, so a lot of great chase down potential here. It's Fortnite trying to trade into Kaztek, but doesn't know Trixui's there. And then now Vertigo joining up.
Everyone is around from Maelstrom's side. It is a 3 versus 2, and actually Oedipus is going to join the party. We got a full-on 3 versus 3. There's a big pulverize. We see the cease and desist come through. Kastek is trying to get the dashes to finish off the Vi, but he does not have enough in the tank. Imagine that. Not enough dashes for Ambessa. The kill must be really out of range, but Oedipus jumps back in. Akira Howe is here as well. The Diana will fall. There's a teleport flank coming on him. This will be 5, and he does have to be careful. The Ruthless Predator does go down. He's stunned up. He just joined in to 4 people. He knocks down the Vi, but he will fall in the end. The shutdown goes to Akira. The Croc is back on the board, and what a scrap. Ends up being, honestly, back and forth between the two, but I think Mint are going to be happier, all things considered.
Yeah, Mint able to grab up the 2. At least the Vi had a bigger bounty than the Jace did, so still a little bit of gold going back over, but still, it looks so good for Maelstrom to start that play. Fortnite in such a poor position, but then, you know, they still end up going down 2 members in that play, so definitely not opportune, and you can really account that to the first move over from the top laner here, as we see what happened on the bot lane here. Bubster just fighting it out. Loki Dozy barely surviving and has to dash away. Does not find all the damage necessary, but this replay is still going, so has to flash also. Wow, got terrified of actually taking that piercing arrow, and ends up burning some pretty big resources going forward.
That's pretty crazy that Bubster was actually making that 1 versus 1 close, because if you look at the items, look how far ahead Loki Dosi is. That's a whole Essence Reaver plus an extra crit cloak for a little bit of RNG for all you RNG lovers. Getting those proper crits is going to make that 1 versus 1 a whole lot easier. As well, we're going to get a freeze here right on the money. We might have the patented bug that we all know and love right before what looks like a potential dive going down, and you know, Bubster has flash, might be able to survive on that one. But if we do have someone added from the producer side of things, then we could get back into game. But we'll get an update onto what is actually going down there. I think it's just a standard client crash, and we'll see if we can end up fixing that up. But I mean, Golden God, this has been a pretty wild game, honestly. The breather isn't that bad for us, because it's been a whole lot to digest in this one.
Yeah, nice to at least have a bit of a break, especially because there's been so much action, and some of it kind of ugly. And that's the stuff that has more casting potential there to kind of, you know, you really got to get in the weeds there. And yeah, I'm pretty surprised that even, you know, they haven't really been able to find a successful dive on the bot lane. You know, they've had their 2v2 wins, but after that, they haven't really been able to snowball to take down this turret to kind of relieve the Lucian of the bot lane duties he's been assigned so far. So that's something that I would like to see some improvement on for Maelstrom. They haven't been doing a great job of clearing out that vision, but they've, you know, indexed their resources elsewhere, as Fiven's still doing great on that top side, as we see a little bit of a cut in now.
So we're back in the game, and we're back into the action immediately, and almost 2 kills. Yes, it actually will be 2 kills. 1 to the Diana, 1 to the Lucian. Fortnite is here as well. He's trying to make the 1 versus 3 happen. He doesn't have a lot of teammates around him, though. He's going to get hit by the concussive blows. He has a Moonfall. He's looking for Loki. The Abduct does not land, though. Has to use the Moonfall into the 2 tank. He remembers Loki can now free hit. Somehow Fortnite is still alive, but now he falls. Thought he could take the 3 versus 1. He was wrong, but guess what? The Vi is here to join the party. Vertigo, cease and desist onto Loki. He's going to grab the kill and get the shutdown. Vault Breaker charging. Aethel doesn't dodge it. 2 kills to the Vi. At the very least, Mid Superior gets some back.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting. We definitely did miss the initial dive there, but still finding the damage there was still huge for the side of Maelstrom. And I was talking about how they need to dive, and guess what? Immediately after the pause comes back, well, not a pause for them, but a pause for us, we do end up actually seeing a successful one. Fortnite able to, you know, trade out a little bit there with the help of Vertigo, who just claims up the 2 kills. That we're set up pretty well here. And yeah, that does put some gold back in their pocket. They are still 2k gold up for Maelstrom, so they shouldn't feel too upset about losing those 2.
And we got 4 kills on the Lucian side. Again, my eyes keep panning over towards the bot lane and the insane lead that the Lucian has. Kastek has had a pretty easy time in this mid lane. Has a pretty good lead over Fortnite here. Again, that flex pick paying off a lot for Maelstrom, as Oedipus is waiting in the wings, trying to find a potential angle here as Kastek goes in. Kastek takes the bait, uses the public execution onto the Alistair. Somehow that actually canceled the headbutt, but Trixui jumps on in. He's exhausted. The Moonfall goes down, but somehow Kastek is still alive. Finally, the flash follow from Vertigo will grab the kill and maybe can take down Trixui as well. It certainly should be the case as Akira is here on the flank, able to get the Call to Meek for the shutdown. And in the meantime, Tier 1 traded bot side.
Yeah, so they finally take down that tier 1 as a trade-off there. Akira able to get some gold back in the pocket. Has the Black Cleaver now, so a little bit more threatening of a crocodile there. As Vertigo just checking on this red buff. Fiven looking for the fight. I don't think this is one that the Vi wins.
Yeah, he does not want this at all. This Jace is quite strong, but there is a teleport coming in. Now Fortnite's going to join the party. Fiven does not care. He's walking towards his team. He's flashing out. He's got the outplay, and Loki gets the kill. Now Fortnite is overextended. Akira is nearby. The Croc is going to try and save his man in chains. He's going to pop the Dominus and use the vision to close the gap onto Loki. Can they kill the Lucian? It looks like they're going to be able to do so. Akira, excellent usage of vision to try and save his mid laner. It's not going to work in the entrance, so he's going to find the kill. Now the rest of the cavalry has arrived here for Maelstrom. They knock down the Croc, but he's able to trade one back in the end. So much work there from Akira in that fight, but Maelstrom still able to come out on top.
Yeah, the kills are just going back and forth and back and forth. They end up, I believe, 2 for 2 in that one, so still going to be pretty even, but a nice chase down nonetheless. Pretty good awareness there from Fortnite to actually go for the abduct as soon as the Lucian commits the E. Go for the final auto, and they're able to burst him out just fully throughout that entire thing. Didn't even have time to flash, so did end up going down. But Bubster at least able to trade out some turret gold, so even more gold going back over to Mint. But the gold lead has pretty much been strong at that 2K mark for the side of Maelstrom. Objectives-wise, they've fallen a bit behind the Grubs, so they won't have that kind of pushing prowess, but they have at least claimed up one drag. So now the Culling's coming through.
Hijacked Culling. Loki able to dodge away from most of that and keep the HP intact. Now has 2 items. Essence Reaver for that infinite mana and the Flicker Blade for the low cooldowns. On 3 items, this Lucian is going to be super strong, assuming that, well, actually with that longsword in his inventory, it does look like he's probably going to index into either a Mortal Reminder or Lord Dominic's Regard, but that'll be the big spike here for the Lucian, and the ability haste that he gets from this build is absolutely incredible. So Loki is going to be able to do a ton of damage, constantly kiting away from these melee champions that Mint Superior have drafted. It's going to be hard to lock down that Lucian if they don't get onto him right away. It really does feel like Maelstrom is kind of running away with this game at the moment. This is the kind of lead they got towards the back end of game number 2, a game that they really did a good job of running away with, but now it's going to be Fiven in some trouble in the 1v1 against Fortnite, now a 2v1 as Vertigo joins the party with the cease and desist. He's trying to find the damage to knock down the Sauce, but the Kingslayer healing is good enough, and the Jace will follow. The response is the Herald on the other side.
Yeah, and Trixui's going to try and force out the Renekton from this top side to be able to just claim up this turret. I'm not seeing exactly... I'm not sure if they're going to go for a big play here on the top side to maybe force down 2 turrets to kind of balance out how the map state was, especially since they're indexing both of their bot lane members towards that side. But no, they're just going to take the victory of forcing out the Renekton. They're going to give that solo gold over to Kaztek, so going to be pretty good for the future of this Ambessa. Already seeing at 1 item. Generally at 2 items is really when you think Ambessa is going to be super powerful, so still trying to get there at this point. No one really coming out to a huge CS lead besides that bot lane, which still persists for about 40-ish CS. But if there's going to be any 80 carry with a lower CS lead, at least it's the Varus, in this scenario, going the on-hit build. So, yes, not going to be as influential as something like a lethality from behind. But still, not going to be the worst since you still just have the utility of that Chains of Corruption.
It feels like this game, Maelstrom had a fantastic answer into the Varus. There's a reason why they decided, okay, we're not actually going to ban it because we know for sure Mint is going to pick that on B1, and we're going to have a response prepared for that. Lucian has been that response. The Braum as well on top of it. The Alistair has not been the response that really has been good into this 2 versus 2, but Loki and Aethel have had themselves a fantastic game. Drake is secured. It looks like Mint wanted to actually contest for this. Akira actually teleported on in, but they're just not there in time, and they miss out on that opportunity.
Yeah, just another free Drake over to Maelstrom here, as they are going to be trying
Aethel?
to force down mid, but Aethel's just in no man's land.
Okay, someone at the very least let him dash away, but are we not just helping out our support here? Nobody from the side of Maelstrom wants this fight for some reason. That is, I don't know about you, Golden Guy, but that's weird. Why did they're just so completely not wanting to fight there, and they kind of just leave their support to the Wolves.
Yeah, they just didn't think it was worth it, I guess. I mean, yeah, looks a little bit strange, but I guess I can kind of see it like, oh, it's just support, it's fine, you know. There are 5 members there. I could see it being a bit risky here. As now
Oh, Loki's in
the
trouble.
risk
Here
is
comes
really
the cease and
Loki.
desist, and he's gone. He is no one around him. No real counterplay to that. He got in range, got it down, and that's 2 big kills here for Mid Superior. Now they have a main advantage on the map, but Oedipus, how did you get into this situation, my friend? He's quite tanky on the cow, has the unbreakable will. Trixui wants to find the kill, but can't quite get in range to finish it off. There's a public execution. Good flash from Oedipus to get away. Castek will not find the kill he wanted.
Yeah, definitely wanted to secure that one to get some more gold on the invested pocket, but not able to actually trade over that one. The Lucian just going to die for free. Nice utilization of the man advantage there onto Vertigo. And yeah, I mean, it's looking pretty good here for Mint. They find some pretty big picks. They still are about 2.4k gold down, so they still have some big catching up to do. But if they're able to chain these kind of picks in succession, they should find themselves with a much closer appearance than it currently is. And yeah, I mean, that's giving a window back to Mint, who really shouldn't have had one with how Maelstrom's been playing all game. Oedipus now
They're
looking for
an
something.
angle. Castek is in some trouble, has to use Flash. Hijacked, public execution. That's available for Fortnite. You could look for an angle with that. Ruinous Otacon is alive on the map. It's fighting for mid control. Once again, this is a reoccurring theme here, Golden God, except this time there's no Drake to be played for. Bubster takes his whole HP. That's a massive moonfall there from Trixui, but Loki is isolated. Everyone from the side of Mint Superior is onto the AD carry of Maelstrom, and they knock him down. Mint Superior is winning the fight. They are chasing them back 4 versus 3. They only lose their support. Fortnite's flashing forward. The Abduct will not land. Trixui flashes away from that one. Aethel is providing the peel for the rest of the team. Trixui jumps on back in. This is 4 versus 3. This is ambitious from Maelstrom, but Trixui is running amok in the backside. He finds 1 kill. He keeps dashing back. What the hell is this Diana? He's so damn good at this pick, and he makes Mid Superior pay for their hubris.
Yeah, they just overchase just a little bit too much. The ego getting to their heads there, and Trixui finds a huge crescent slash there, and actually just able to get the full benefits of the Diana E. Just reset after reset after reset. Finds the damage to eventually take down the big carries of Mint, and in a play where it looked so unlikely and so Mint favored, they still find the W. And now they're going to be changing their attention over onto this Otacon. And this is as much as secured as you can ask for. It's going to be ruinous because this is a bloodbath of a game. Sitting at 16-17 at just 21 minutes. And yeah, that's going to mean even more stats for the side of the Diana. And this one's slipping away from Mint more and more. And that was their big window, and they blundered it.
Oh man, that was beautiful. I'm gonna be real. That was quite the play. 3 versus 4. It's kind of like what Mint did to Maelstrom in game number 1. The fights that shouldn't be in their favor end up working out for them off the heroics of their jungler. I mean, you even look on the other side of Vertigo, 7-2 on this Vi, 8-3 for Trixui's Diana. We said at the beginning of the series, these 2 junglers, they're not like what you normally see when it comes to competitive League of Legends. They like to play the carries. They like to actually take the reins and be the primary carries for the squad. That's exactly what we're seeing in this series as Bubster takes 70% of his health from the culling there. Loki is not someone you want to mess with at this stage of the game. And we'll see what Maelstrom Esports can get. They are poised. They are ready to look for any fight they can and try and get themselves into an even better position to win this game.
Yeah, I think that's the coolest thing about Mint is they win fights that don't look winning. Like initially on that mid lane fight, you saw the culling come through and then the Diana ult on top of it. You would have thought that's perfect conditions for Maelstrom to sweep that fight, but it still ended up in Mint's favor until the play at the very end. So, you know, they still have that aspect of them, but you're seeing Maelstrom a lot more coordinated in their play, able to actually give a pretty strong response.
Now the Drake is alive. Soul point potential for Maelstrom. Does Mint Superior want this play? Looks like they do. Akira is TPing behind. It feels like Maelstrom, they're aware of this. They back on up themselves. They're teleporting in their mid laner right now. Still hitting onto the Drake. But that's going to reset. A split position here from Mint Superior 2 on the right side of the fight. 3 on the left side. Channeling the Vault Breaker right now is Vertigo. He jumps on in. He's looking for the Diana. They jump on in. The Moonfall is used. But guess what? The Diana is still alive, but they're into the backside. Loki's in some trouble. He stays alive, though, and 5 and takes down Fortnite as well. It's absolute pandemonium inside of the river, but it looks like for the moment, Mint Superior is holding themselves true. Bubster is able to take down Loki with the piercing arrow. They're winning the fight. They found the snap engage. It's a triple kill for Akira on the Crocodile. And somehow, Mint is able to hold the line. They deny the soul point, and they're gonna knock this Drake score up 2-2.
Yeah, they get the full ace there as Bubster's just free firing. It doesn't even do that much damage because his Varus is so far behind, but the Croc and the Vi are much more than they need to actually find some of these burst kills. They find the initial engage onto the Diana and then instantly follow up afterwards with a bunch of damage on their face. And yeah, just like that, Mint wins one of those unlikely fights I talked about right before that fight occurred. And yeah, I mean, that's just got to show some sort of aspect of, you know, toughness, I'd say, for the side of Mint.
Akira How Glazers, stand. This is your moment. I'm seeing you guys in chat. Don't think I don't see the Akira How Glaze in the chat. Well, that man is popping off on the Crocodile. Had a really poor start to this game. It was 2-0 for Fiven's Jace. And he just said, I don't care. He made a couple roam plays to the mid lane. He turned his game around. And he's been a huge factor here for Mint Superior in this game. We're back. Pretty much knotted up within 1,000 gold at the 25-minute mark. You can essentially call this game even. And what a series this has been so far. This is exactly what we want to see as Bubster just solo kills Loki, who gets the shield from the locket to keep him alive. Flashing forward is Akira trying to find the kill and close the distance, but he just cannot do it now. Will Mint Superior be punished on the way back? Oh, Oedipus is taking a whole lot of damage. The cow is so tanky that he still has not fallen. Neither has Loki. In the middle of everyone is Akira jumping on in to the Diana is the Vi. Now the fight is turned into absolute chaos. We got 5 people still alive, though, for the side of Maelstrom. Loki is so free hitting from the backside. Kastek is getting absolutely everyone. A triple kill there. Loki will get the next. On the run is the Vi. Hot in pursuit. The rest of Maelstrom. They got a Baron to turn around to. They can continue to push down the mid lane. They've won the fight. Back and forth this game goes. This game still is not in the hands of anyone just yet.
So overeager, Lucian barely squeaking away with just the rune lifesteal, I have to assume, plus the little bit from the Ocean Drake, able to survive. And after that, it's just a blind chase towards the Lucian, and it just isn't successful. There is much too much peel there for Maelstrom, and they actually do end up having all 5 members live, and Mint goes down. And man, that is again a pretty big blunder after such a brilliant play from Mint.
Oh my goodness. We go from Mint Superior winning fights at the Drake to somehow Bubster winning these 1v1s against Loki when Loki is quite literally an entire item ahead. And he doesn't die. He lives with 1 HP, Golden Gad. The locket from Aethel saved his life on the last auto attack from Bubster, and then he ends up living for the entire fight. And the damage that he was able to deal in the backside was what actually put Maelstrom over the goal line in that exchange. This is a game of inches right now. I'm loving everything that's happening right now in this series. It's so close. This is League of Legends, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we are here for. And right now, Maelstrom now in a good position, 4,000 gold ahead. They want to be able to run with this lead. This is about the best shot that they have, the Baron in their hands, but they do have to be careful though. Mint is on the hunt. They're looking for Loki. He walks right into a cease and desist, and he's got nowhere to go. He will fall. Teleporting in is Kastek. Aethel is the next target. They've blundered their lead once again. Mint Superior somehow take control again.
There is no way I am watching this right now. You just said this is peak League of Legends. I don't know about that, but it's definitely League of Legends at its real core. You know, you peel back the layers. This is the League of Legends everyone is here to experience. It is not the crisp, clean pro League of Legends of LCK, for instance. It's just complete and utter chaos, as now we get another engage attempt that's just going to go wide. And they are going to find the public execution
What
under
the
turret,
hell?
and they're
They're
going
just
hard
diving
here.
everyone. This is a risky play, though. They're underneath their own tower. There's 3 people here from Maelstrom, and Vertigo's going to die. Fortnite's going to die. What have they done every single time? It's throw after throw. It's Maelstrom who tosses away their lead. It's Min Superior who tosses away their leads and advantages. These teams are just so wild in this game. Oedipus is the next target. He is going to fall. That's 4 dead. The base might just be cracked right here.
Oh, hell no. I cannot believe I am watching this. This is just absolutely miserable. Honestly, like, I can't. It's just like, just take your small victories,
Are they
you
gonna
know,
end?
move along with it. But this is just the end of the game. There's no members of Mint up, and Maelstrom is going to somehow
Akira
survive
has
the
to
storm
try.
of
That's
this
it.
game.
He's just
And they're
gone.
gonna
The
take
Nexus
it.
towers are gone. I cannot believe that's how the game ends. I was ready for another 20 or so minutes, but all of a sudden, after a team fight win Golden Gad, they throw their whole game away underneath the tier 2. And it's Maelstrom who take the 2-1 lead in this best of 5.
I got no words. Honestly, let's just go next game.
Yeah, I mean, you're over at Golden Gad, aren't you? That was actually one of the most unique
Disgusting.
situations you
Just
could
say
have
it.
in the game. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it was a little bit unclean. There was some dirty gameplay in there, some back and forth throws. Maelstrom, I guess, you know, it was Min Superior who actually got the last throw, and Maelstrom was finally able to capitalize. But that was so anticlimactic. That was such a fist fight. That's exactly kind of what we said we wanted to see, what we thought was going to happen from this game, and that's exactly what we got.
Yeah, that is that's a game of League of Legends right there. You know, they said, "Hey, no one's at losing stakes. Screw it, we ball." I was gonna say it, but we got to keep this family friendly, of course. that is as bad as it gets for actually like clean play and moving on forward. So yeah, I mean, there's gonna be some big reflections there from Mint because they definitely could have taken that, but there's gonna be also the same kind of considerations over to Maelstrom. It's gonna be like, whew, can't believe we managed to win this one. This was pretty dirty, but nonetheless, they're actually gonna be able to take that one. So pretty interesting stuff going on in that game, and capital INT.
Yeah, it was messy, and that just seems to be the game that Maelstrom Esports like to play. The drafts that they actually take, they aren't necessarily the most cohesive. Like that Diana angle, maybe not the best, but it was Trixui that pulled out the Leandries and the Riftmaker builds, and it was more of like a sustained damage DPS type of Diana, and it works. So their ingenuity pays off. They are not really scared to make these plays happen and just go for it, go for the jugular in these games, and it ends up paying off. Mint Superior is kind of falling for the chaos. They're buying into it as well, and we've got ourselves a bloody series, but it is Maelstrom who takes the 2-1 lead. Game 4 is on the horizon. Will Maelstrom close it out, or are Mint sending us to Silver Scrapes? Find out after this.
like do 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 do, like do 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 crazy, oh 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 crazy, oh 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 crazy crazy, oh oh crazy, oh 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 crazy, do 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 crazy, do 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 crazy, do 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 crazy, do 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 crazy crazy, do do like do 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 do, like do 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 crazy, oh do do like do 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 do, like do 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 crazy, oh.
We are back with the Titan Immortal League and the semi-final matchup between Maelstrom Esports and Mint Superior. 2-1 for Maelstrom after taking the game 1L. They bounced back quite nicely. And honestly, it feels like the chaotic style of play, Golden God, that's the one that they like the most. And it feels like Mint Superior kind of has fallen into all that chaos. They kind of need to get back to where they were in game number 1, get some solid team fighting drafts and really work what was good for them in game 1 and the start of game number 2 as well.
Yeah, I think I'm still definitely recovering after that last game. Some crazy things occurred within the sequence of about 5 minutes. So I'm hoping to see the game really button up and become a bit more clean if you do want to see Mint take it. Because game 1 was really, I think they really came out to a great objective lead, which really they were able to snowball that into a full victory after a couple team fights went their way. But it hasn't been the same way since the last one. And now Mint going back over to the red side. They had their time on the blue side, so the Varus first pick angle not working out in their favor in a pretty major way. So definitely has some adaptations to make. All 5 champions from last game are banned despite not being on the graphic. Trust me, so Varus still not on the table no matter what. Just we don't have that much space for this many fearless bans, so that's just how it goes when we go into game 4 with no restrictions on bans afterwards. So definitely gonna have to see what ends up getting picked up here. Is we're seeing pretty similar stuff across the table. Gwen, Viego, Lilia, Cho'Gath. Talia was previously banned by Mint, so we'll see if that ends up sticking or it'll be something different. Mbessa, or not Mbessa, sorry. That's the wrong Medarda there. It's gonna be Mel getting banned out there. So pretty strong pick there in the mid lane, and then Poppy going to be that final ban here. So I'm curious to see what they're actually angling for with the early Poppy ban like that. Usually you'll see that pick get pushed over to 4 and 5 for that pick.
I think so they're actually going to go for the Wukong for the side of Maelstrom. I was saying Skarner's a champion that both junglers like to play a whole lot, so maybe we get something like that this deep into a Fearless draft. Okay, it's going to be gobbled up by Vertigo. I was going to say, this deep into a Fearless draft to not have Skarner go down yet is kind of criminal. So we are going to get that. It is more of the dueling combat skirmish potential here for Maelstrom. It's what they like to do, and I like what I'm seeing from Mint. They actually take the Rel early here. I guess it's just to take it and make sure Aethel doesn't take it for himself. But this opens up the door for a counterpick on Aethel's side, but it does look like they're building themselves that team fight composition here for Mint. On the other side, Maelstrom, they lock down the Kai'Sa, probably going to look for something more of a dive, maybe just take a Nautilus here in response to the Rel, just to get that Kai'Sa Nautilus bot lane, and there it is.
Yeah, extremely powerful combo there, and does very well into Rel in particular. They banned away the Poppy to avoid the Poppy in the bot lane, but they still left open that Nautilus, so wasn't exactly fully bearing fruit for them. And it's going to be the Xayah as that final lock-in in the first phase of picks. Xayah does pretty well into Nautilus, especially since you can get rid of that depth charge with the ultimate there. So pretty good call out. I think it's pretty interesting that all solo lanes are still unpicked at this point in the draft. So you're really going to have to prioritize whether you want to get stuff out of the hands of someone like, Fyvon, who's done extremely good throughout this entire series. That's kind of what put them at the 2-1, and if you ask me, they're able to translate those leads into pretty big advantages. It's particularly for Trixel, so we'll have to see if they can actually snowball that. But they're going for all mid lane mages: Talia, Victor, Veigar, and Syndra. So the pool is pretty pinched at this point. Nothing really comes to mind that much. Ziggs maybe potentially could be something that you now fall to with all these picks going down, but it's going to be something much more aggressive. Going to be that Yone, and now that leaves open some pretty decent picks since you are going for more of a melee mid.
I'm wondering, Xerath is on the table here for the side. It's actually Fortnite, never mind. I'm getting my sides here mixed up. They're going to take the Akali into the Yone. We got ourselves a pretty insane compositions here for game 4 Fearless. These compositions look pretty well put together. It's going to be the Rumble blind in the top side. Again, could potentially be some type of weird Yone flex, but it's not something Akira has played before. So into the Rumble, we'll see what they end up pulling out here. Maybe something, it's going to be the Dr. Mundo, which is not something Akira has played at all in Titan Immortal. So pulling out the new champions, they got tricks up their sleeves for the semifinals, but clear front to back for Min Superior, back to the basics. This is what we wanted from them, Golden Gad. This is a good look for them in this draft. On the other side, lots of dive, good skirmish, honestly, for Maelstrom. I think both teams, all things considered, based on what was on the table, they kind of got what they want based on the way that they like to play. It's going to come down to who's executing, who's more locked in. We'll see what kind of lead Maelstrom can get, though. I feel like they have the edge earlier on.
Yeah, I actually think the Mundo pick is actually great because a lot of the damage coming out from the side of Maelstrom is going to be magic damage. And, Rumble already kind of struggles to kill this Mundo, which is why you're seeing the Ignite on the side of Fiven. So we'll have to see if they can actually find anything out of that, or will it just be a TP disadvantage? They're going to have to play through the entire game here. As now they're going to go for a pretty late invade here. They're going to get spotted out by the Skarner, so nothing too crazy going to happen. Just going to get that deep ward and move along. Now the bot lane going to fill up that space since Kai'Sa's no longer safe after everyone got revealed. So they're going to be able to take up this early position, but they are spotted out on a ward. There won't be any collapse, so it should be just a nice, chill, kind of long route here for Aethel. But yeah, still very interesting to see how these fights actually play out. Gets a bit of a chunk onto Bubblestir, so not too bad, all things considered. But yeah, I think this Mundo is going to be, Mundo and Skarner in particular, are going to be extremely difficult to kill for Maelstrom. The Wukong doesn't have the best AD damage, and then unless Kai'Sa gets super fed, which is not the easiest thing to do into a Xayah for sure. So I'd be a little bit more concerned about their damage spread after a couple items come up for these tanks.
Really good early trade from Lokidosi and Aethel. They're getting some good damage off. These level 1 trades have gone quite nice for them. I'm really excited. You mentioned the Ignite that was taken by 5-on. You got to make this lane phase worthwhile. If you're going to take this Ignite, you want to be able to beat this Mundo in the 1 versus 1, get a couple solo kills. Ideally, you want Trixui to be playing for you, but is actually pathing down to the bot side. And I wonder, maybe is Lokidosi going to take this really new and fresh Kai'Sa build? It's been played in the LPL a lot. It's a crit Kai'Sa build. It's just like what you would build on something like Xayah, but instead it's Kai'Sa. Yuntal Wild Arrow is a really strong item right now. Could actually maybe index into that. I'm just kind of thinking about if that is the case. It might not be, though. The on-hit build is still quite strong, and we'll see what Lokidosi wants to go for. But I think another big X factor here, Golden Gad, for the side of Maelstrom is definitely going to be Castek on this Akali. As 5-on taking pretty big trades here, going to drop the Ignite. This is the level 3 to level 2 advantage he has. There's no flash on Akira. How? He's going to flash forward and get the kill. That's exactly what we wanted on Q. 5-on finds the solo kill for Maelstrom.
Yeah, but that is your flash and your Ignite committed, so the TP is going to be pretty good here for the Mundo to actually get back in this wave. Akira got to be a bit careful not to get chunked out immediately as this comes back down. But still, 5-on finding the solo kill means you do get the value from the Ignite. Still a great position to be in, but maybe not as advantageous since you do not have that teleport to kind of match. So if the Mundo can really stall you out here in lane, you could find yourself in a pretty bad position. And especially if you go down. Now, Vertigo, looking towards the mid lane, wants to find Castek. Trying to look for an angle here, but Akali definitely knows. Oh, nice
stun. The stun. I think he actually canceled the Shuriken flip as well, but Castek has the Shroud, so we'll be all right. It's going to be a little bit difficult to take him down when he has that available, but that's a good chunk, and that gives Fortnite big control of this lane. And that wave is not really in a forgiving spot for Castek right now, so he might just have to burn his TP to get back his Vertigo. That was so unfortunate. He missed the Ishtal's impact. He would have pushed 5-on back, but I think 5-on's actually dead here. He's got no flash. This is the exact situation you talked about here, Golden Gad. You got no flash, nowhere to run. Caught in the wrong place, recalling in the wrong bush. Akira gets one back for himself.
Yeah, that's definitely not what you want to see as a top laner when you aren't running that Ignite. I think he greeded out just to stay for an extra wave, but a huge hook there.
Oedipus is down, and Aethel grabs the kill. That was unexpected. Snap engaged there. Support gets the kill, but this 2v2 is definitely going the way of Maelstrom's side. Once again, Loki and Aethel just getting the better of Bubster and Oedipus in this 2v2.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge hook there from Aethel. Curving around the minions, able to sneak away that kill for Oedipus there. But yeah, I want to talk more about that top lane. Rumble Could have just recalled there for sure. Just greeted out to get a couple more waves, and now you find yourself 60 is down against Mundo, who just got the 3 Ruby Crystals, and eventually after the Hollow Radiance is complete, that matchup's only going to get more and more rough from here, so not being able to translate that snowball properly is definitely going to be something extremely scary here for the side of Maelstrom.
I'm interested. This is a Swifties rush for 5, and I don't know. It's going to give him move speed. He's going to be able to kite away from the Mundo quite well, who does have that ghost advantage and could try to run him down. But in terms of the damage, it's going to be a little bit less punishing for the Mundo, who has 3 Ruby Crystals. That's the build. We're just going Ruby Crystal, rush the full build type stuff right now for the Mundo, and he's going to be quite tanky. So I don't know. The pressure might not be kind of weighing down onto Akira as much as it could. Level 6 now for 5 and has access to the equalizer. We got Drake on the map. Grubs coming up soon as well. Both junglers kind of around this bot side for the moment. But Vertigo pathing up towards his topside camps, but he doesn't have any topside camps up right now. So he's kind of in an interesting spot right now on the Skarner with not a whole lot to do. He's probably just going to make his way over to the Grubs.
Yeah, I don't hate the Swifties since a lot of the CC from the Skarner and the Mundo are all slow based. So you really could get away from some scenarios where you wouldn't otherwise. But now Kostek in a bad position, gonna get the stun.
Oh, here comes the Fate Seal. So much CC layered onto this Akali. Tries to get away with the perfect execution. I almost said public execution. 2 different abilities. The perfect one is the one that Kostek uses to escape that 2 versus 1.
Yeah, able to survive, but that pressure will afford them the grubs. But they are going to trade over the Dragon since the bot lane does have the pressure from Loki Dosi and Aethel finding the early 2v2. Vertigo kind of feeling scared about staying on this one, but they may be just looking for a gank onto Fivon. Not going to be able to grab that.
He's not going to get hit by the Ishtals. No level 6 for Vertigo means there's no Impale, and, well, actually, that means that Vertigo's not going to be able to get these 2 grubs. Now, it looks like Aethel was actually moving up from the bot side, so maybe Vertigo was... It was a combination of maybe we can find a gank onto Fiven, and also everyone's kind of converging onto my location, and my top laner doesn't have priority, so I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, able to at least grab up 1, so you'll deny the 3 stack there and get that much closer to denying all the mites. But here, we've seen this before. Akira under turret, about to get forced down.
Man, Aethel, that was... What the hell? Okay, I thought Fiven was going to die there. The dive is in. Aethel's tanking the tower. It worked. But oh boy, that was funny. I can't believe that dredge line missed. Fortnite's going to try and make a play himself to get something back here for Min Superior, but they're just not there in time. 3-1, Feat of Warfare claimed.
Yeah, despite the ultimate coming back up for the Mundo, it still didn't matter too much. But because of the tempo and the time spent by Aethel, needs to get back to that bot lane before it becomes too scary for the Kai'Sa, but I mean, really, still 10 CS up, not too crazy there for Loki Dosi, but still wanted to make sure you can capitalize on that, and Oedipus and Vertigo capitalize to be able to grab up these last 2 grubs. Gold lead looking very much so in favor of Maelstrom, though, which is something we've seen in pretty much every single game.
Yeah,
early on.
They've been having themselves some pretty solid early games, and a lot of that is off their fantastic laning, especially bot lane. Their bot lane has constantly had Mint's number. Bubster and Oedipus really just have not been able to go toe-to-toe with Loki and Aethel. You can see this 20 CS lead for the Kai'Sa, and they're just diving right on in. There's the Killer Instinct to follow up the dredge line. That's Flash and Featherstorm off of Bubster, who's now going to have to recall. And this wave is in such a horrible spot, they can either set up the freeze or just push it in to deny CS underneath the tower. This should normally be a Xayah favored lane. That's just not the case in this one.
Yeah, Loki Dosi and Aethel making it look pretty easy, honestly. The Nautilus Kai'Sa is definitely a strong 2v2, but yeah, the Xayah should just be able to kind of outspace and kind of keep the Kai'Sa at bay while damage does come through. So a little bit different of a look than I'd normally expect here, as you know, we're just having a pretty normal experience here. Mundo going for the full HP stacking route, not opting for any magic resist early on, or boots for that matter. Should still be fine nonetheless, but still just going to be scaling up. And we're seeing pretty much standard builds across the board, nothing too crazy from any of these players.
We got an invade here. Trixui loves these blue buffs. Vertigo, this is a constant problem with bro. He's like, man, can they just get the hell off my blue buffs? I want a blue from time to time. Trixui says, nah, bro, these are mine. And I got the gang with me to take it away. Things are looking real good for the bot side of Mid Superior. Everyone's kind of corralling around this Scuttle Crab, and they're going to look for a fight. Trixui is isolated. The Ishtal's impact hits the Crab instead of the Wukong, but my oh my, that is a lot of spells that just converged onto the Monkey's position, and they get one kill back, crucially closing that gold gap between the Kaisa and the Zaya.
Yeah, just greeting a bit for that Scuttle there. As now Akira forced down, does actually get the, the ultimate there out of the Rumble, but still just going to be able to survive out. I'd be very surprised if Vivin actually goes for this, but no, just going to keep the poke up, wants to keep that Mundo at a low HP. Going to be taking up a couple turret shots, but it shouldn't matter too much. The Swifties is definitely very useful to prevent any kind of exchange, and if the Mundo has a harder time catching up to you, that means more time for the scrap shield to come back for the Rumble.
All things considered, Akira's done a pretty good job in this lane, despite dropping that early solo kill at level 3. Was able to get one kill back thanks to Vertigo and maintain himself a CS lead as Bubster has steps really far forward, now eats the dredge line. The peel is attempted here for Oedipus, but there's the killer instinct, but they just don't have the damage. Now Loki's out of position. We see double teleports coming in. It's actually 2 teleports here for the side of Min Superior. Now trying to get out of dodge is the rest of Maelstrom. The Shattering Strike does not land. No one is dropped yet. Is everyone going to survive this exchange? Good dredge line here, but the Impale is so good as well. Kastek jumps back on in. He's looking for more kills. He's able to find 2. Shattering Strike onto 2 as well. Trixui's in trouble. It looks like Min Superior are taken over. They have won this bot lane exchange.
Yeah, the man advantage coming in clutch there. Double TP towards the bot lane. Really flexing the fact that your Rumble has Ignite. Gonna lose some damage on that turret on top side for sure, but they're gonna claim up a huge teamfight victory with 4 kills and the dragon as well. So definitely putting themselves back on the board and slightly up in gold at this point.
They're going to be taking the dragon as well. 4 kills to the Mundo is crazy. This champion can do disgusting things as a tank. Kind of like one time someone said, I can't even remember who it was. It might have been someone I was casting with back in the day, but they're like, Mundo is the Master Yi of tanks. And that's actually, I love that comparison because he can quite literally just run top speed with this ghost and just blaze through everyone, one-shotting people, big Heartsteel procs, even though he hasn't built that Heartsteel yet, or don't even know if he actually will in the end. But this is a champion that can do some serious damage from Min Superior's side. It would have been nicer if those kills went on Bubster, but honestly, Min Superior will take that play. They are going to lose these trio of grubs.
Honestly, I don't mind it. I mean, Bubster's life is literally to click R when the Nautilus clicks R on Bubster, It's like, it's a pretty streamlined thing there. I don't actually hate Mundo. I feel like, yeah, you said it well. Master Yi kind of tank where if you give it a big lead to a Mundo who's designed to not get leads early on, could definitely be very scary. Oedipus, though, getting forced down pretty low, not expecting Aethel to be in this area. Doesn't end up chunking out, but just going to go for the recall here. No big deal, as they're looking for maybe a play onto 5-on, who has kind of no idea.
He does not have flash. If one spell from Oedipus hits, it's going to spell his doom, and the crash down will be avoided. This is a really interesting lane assignment here. I feel like Mid Superior was rotating for the grubs, but they just rotated too late. So they have their bot lane in top right now as 5-on. Why are we recalling here, dude? This is just a free kill that's going to be given over. Oedipus, unfortunately, grabs the kill, but he was out, and he decided to start recalling in a very, very dangerous position, to say the least, and he gets punished for it.
Yeah, just a bit questionable there on the recall. It's going to cost them a bit of tempo here, and gold in particular. Vertigo able to smite away that buff, so Trixui not able to actually grab that up.
Gets one back.
Yeah, finally back on the board after the abuse of the last couple. Just going to be able to also grab up that red buff, but the Mundo on the bot side just claims up that bot lane turret. That is first turret for the side of Mint Superiority. So I think they're doing pretty good, honestly. That the Mundo is so accelerated, probably going to back here and maybe get most of a Heartsteel, but actually opts instead for the Swifties. Going for Giant's Belt plus probably Kindle Gem. Nope, just double Giant's Belt. That's Mundo Gaming right there.
Can we talk about this Yuntal Wild Arrows Yone? Is this something you've seen before? This is new to me.
I can't say that I've ever seen this before, no. But I honestly can see the rationale if a fight goes long, and also you're getting insane amounts of stats, but your early game is just that weak. because you don't have your crit yet. So, I mean, it's definitely pretty interesting. I can understand the rationale. I don't think I've
Yeah,
ever seen it though.
it is a crit item, and I don't think Yone's got the buffs that he's kind of slated for where he doesn't have a crit penalty anymore. Kind of like Yasuo does is, well, now we're starting off this play. Here comes a big engage from Oedipus, but the Impale actually goes wide. The Fate Sealed will connect, though. Big equalizer over the top. This Yone's burning, and he will drop the shutdown. Goes to 5, and Kastek is getting super low. That last tower shot does not bring him down. Akira Howe not able to run amok in the back line. +1 over to Maelstrom mid lane.
Yeah, not bad there. Good collapse in the mid lane. Now Vertigo just going to peek his head in. Going to get chunked down. Could have been actually pretty big damage there if Aethel actually landed that hook. But just going to be able to skirt away and dissuade the mid lane turret from going down, which really would open up this map a lot more for Maelstrom to play with. And remember, this is Mint's potential final game if they don't end up grabbing up this one. So they put themselves in a better position than most of these games in the series so far, but still definitely on a tightrope nonetheless.
Looking a little bit shaky, I'll be real. There was some miscommunication with the ultimates used. The wombo combo potential on Min Superior's team is insane. Impale, Fate Sealed, Crash Down, Magnet Storm, Feather Storm over top of that as well. That's the dream combination, but any sort of partition of those spells being successfully used in quick succession is really dangerous for the side of Maelstrom. They just got to make sure they're on that same page. Weren't really there in that mid lane play, but still, again, they have that gold lead. They have a lot of time to work with. Their scaling is incredible too. They definitely do outscale their opponents there. The Mundo, the Skarner gets super tanky, Yone and Xayah late game. Mint is definitely still in an okay spot. We'll see what Maelstrom can do to try and make plays to get themselves a lead and start to run away with the game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, now we're seeing Heartsteel completed for the Skarner. Obviously going to take a bit to stack up since you do need those big fights for that to actually happen. But with the Mundo also now completing it, that is a very scary doctor in the bot lane. So, I mean, I gotta say, this is looking pretty dire, especially for the Rumble, who didn't really get too much value out of this early game, as they're really looking to sprawl here in the mid lane. I feel like I've seen this so many times. Dragon setup, and Mint has this exact position. They have advantage on the banana bush, but maybe not in the mid lane. But there have been big mistakes in this area, and they're going for Kastek.
Oh my goodness, Kastek has to be in trouble. Oh my goodness, Impale is going to go wide. The Dredge line's going to be eaten up by the passive of the Mundo, but we're going to start this playoff. Equalizer's running through the entire team. Trixui is into the back line as well, but he's taking a whole lot of damage. Kastek now has time onto Bubster, but he has to run for the hills. Tanking up in the middle of everyone is the Mundo. The Fate Sealed goes wide. The Mundo will fall. The Rumble gets 2, and now the floodgates have opened up. Now Maelstrom is able to run the fight. The Killer Instinct to the back line is going to net the Kaisa too. The last one alive is the Skarner, and he is next to drop. Maelstrom Esports in the biggest fight of the game thus far. Take all 5.
Yeah, a huge good positioning advantage there for Maelstrom, and they actually do find a massive equalizer there to actually, you know, kind of cut off the members of Mint and force them to burn a ton of resources just to get away. And then guess who loves it when all of the flashes are down? Of course, it's going to be Kastek on that Akali. Finds the damage, and then Loki Dosi just, you know, pumping in the back line, so just able to actually find that damage. And now Maelstrom commanding lead, 4k gold up just off of one fight here as we get a bit of a replay here. We've talked about disasters in this area. Vertigo barely missing out on that impact, which really wasn't the big deal breaker here, but look at this equalizer in just a second here, forcing Bubster to try and get out, and then both of your kind of tanky and frontliners are burning down, and then Kastek flashes forward as soon as Bubster lands back from the ultimate there, and all the feathers are consumed, and then just has to go back in. Akira cannot survive through all of the damage that's coming through, and Loki Dosi's just free hitting that entire time, and they're able to take this fight in a pretty dominant fashion.
Loki played that fight so well. The flash away from the Fate Sealed, the Killer Instinct at the right time to join the play. He didn't use it too early. A lot of times on Kaisa, you see players use it too preemptively. If he jumped in at the wrong time, he would have got deleted immediately. I think that fight was so well played from not just Loki as well, though. Kastek was doing a fantastic job of keeping Bubster occupied in the backline. But enough about the last fight. We got another one on hand, and we got the Rift Herald that was stolen. Aethel is taking a whole lot of damage. He uses the shields to try and keep himself alive, but now into the backside is Trixui, landing knockups on multiple people. Castex in the backline as well. The Blade Caller doesn't get a ton of value. Castex able to knock down the Zaya. Everyone from the side of Min Superior is falling. There's only the tanks that are left, and everyone else from Maelstrom is in pursuit. Akira Howe nowhere to run away. Another triple kill to Loki. This guy has been on one all series long. 6-1 on the Kaisa is no different.
Yeah, this is very quickly getting out of Mint's hands here. Maelstrom doing a great job here of dodging out on the big threat abilities here from Mint, and then capitalizing afterwards with the chase down, with the help of the Rumble, as well as the Wukong, just finding the damage. So this is looking really good for Maelstrom, and they may be able to just, snowball this into quite a quick victory if this continues. I think Mint needs to calm down. They need to find their picks where they have them. They need to leverage the fact that they have the scaling advantage and kind of chill, but I think they got a little bit caught up in the moment there. You want to find some gold back up, and the Otacon being up, and it's ruinous. If that goes over, it's very scary, so I could see the rationale for going for the fight, but it's just not there, and it's just, got a bit of desperation on there.
You can see the huge lead for Loki in the bot lane. Massive lead as well for Castex in the mid lane as well. Fortnite is actually so poor right now on this Yona. He's got no gold, so that's really a troublesome sign if you're a Min Superior fan. I also want to point out, well, it's a 20-minute Otacon. This game is very much in Maelstrom's control. It is their game to lose at this point. 5,000 gold head. But let's take a look at Fiven's build right now. This guy has a Leandries, and he's also got 2 Haunting Guises. What is bro building? I don't think you can build 2 items from those Haunting Guises.
Yeah, there are not 3.
Yeah.
Wait, maybe there is. Wait, isn't the new MR Shred item also a Haunting Guise? Am I crazy? Or not new,
are you talking about Bloodletter's Curse?
Yeah, Bloodletters. Does it use a...
Oh, maybe. And that is an item that sometimes Rumble does build. Okay, so we did get confirmation it is. Okay, so we're getting the triple Haunting Guise build tech here from
Triple burn. Yep.
Okay, mystery solved.
There you go. I mean, that's definitely still tech, though, to buy 2 instead of completing 1 and then doing the other. So definitely some interesting stuff there. What, 2% damage that you do with those Haunting Guises? So I guess you get 4% now. That's pretty... That's just simple math right there.
He's burning. He is doing damage on the Rumble. We can say that. When the equalizer goes down, 3 mass is going to mean you're doing some damage, as now Akira and Vertigo are linking up to knock down this tower. That's a good equalizer to try and clear away the wave, but I still think this tower is a goner. On the other side of the map, trading a tier 1. Loki's also here to try and defend this, and Vertigo's saying, oh, okay, they're actually going to knock down the tower. I thought Akira was going to take that to run on away. But that's a big gold injection at the very least for Mint. It's going to help them close the gold gap a little bit, still far behind, but all things considered, across the map in that macro play, I think it was Mint Superior that came out on top.
Yeah, and that's the coordination that we expect of Mint, and they've been doing good with that, but this has not been as clean as game 1. I mean, even game 1 was a bit sloppy, but they were able to snowball very effectively. I think not getting the objectives, the dragons and stuff like that, really makes their decision making a lot harder to execute, and with Maelstrom just playing better as far as finding opportunities, it's really been a lot more difficult for Mint to find the footing that they need to stand on.
Gonna get even more difficult at this next Drake. It's gonna be the potential soul point for the side of Maelstrom, and it doesn't look like they actually care. What they care about is trying to knock down Castex, who uses the perfect execution to dodge away from the Impale and then use the R2 to escape. Wow, that was clean as hell. That's chef's kiss stuff right there, man. That was smooth. And Vertigo and Akira, how they come up empty-handed, and that means it's Drake time for Maelstrom.
Yeah, they're going to be able to grab up this 3rd Drake. That's going to be soul point. They indexed towards the opposite side, didn't find what they needed, but they did get Castex Flash, so not as prevalent as a dive threat now, but still definitely going to be a little bit scary here. It's now 5 on, probably with 2 burn items now fully completed, is definitely going to be hurting this Mundo, since it's mostly HP stacking, not nearly as much MR as I would have expected considering the champions locked in this game. Yeah, okay, 2 and then the Spirit Visage, so honestly still pretty decent, but I'm surprised not to see Hollow Radiance already instead of the Heartsteel, but it's a difference of opinion on what the tank actually needs to do. So, we'll have to see how that goes. It's actually gonna be the Bloodletter's Curse completion first over the what's that item
Riftmaker.
called? Riftmaker. Wait, Riftmaker. Isn't there
Is it
4
not
then?
Riftmaker?
Because isn't there
Maybe.
the Scepter or whatever it's called? I don't remember. I don't play burn champs. I think they're lame. Sorry, chat. I think burn champs are lame. Right now, at
Yeah,
least.
I don't know. I don't think there's 4. I think it's just Riftmaker after that.
Okay.
We might be exposing ourselves here, Golden. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I know
got
we're frauds.
talk about
I gotta
something
play
else.
more League of
Oh,
Legends.
yeah, that's all about Rumble's build, guys. Let's look at Wukong's build.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Trinity Force and Sundered Sky, pretty standard stuff. We know our stuff here. Baron, oh yes, Baron is being started by Maelstrom, and well, does Mint Superior have themselves a counterpunch? Do we got a counterpunch? Counterpunch for 200. It looks like they're going to attempt it here, Golden Gap, but Vertigo is missing Impales again. We might be setting world records here. This is a little bit sad for Vertigo's side, but we're going to see how the fight goes in the end. Bubster actually uses the Featherstorm the wrong way. It's an absolute disaster. The fight is being wrecked, and Maelstrom have taken every single life except the Mundo. He's going to follow suit soon. We're just going to see the end of the game right here, right now. 25 minutes quadra kill for Loki, and Maelstrom are grand finals bound.
Yeah, they're going to end it in 4. We're not going to that silver scrapes. They said enough is enough. We've had sloppy games, but they're going to try and close this one out ASAP after Mint gave them a huge opportunity earlier on in the game. A couple members will go down to these turrets, but they're excited. They're going to go to that grand final and await the winner of Summit Esports Wawas and Omega Akuma pairing knives.
What a series from Maelstrom. What a turnaround after that game 1 loss. And honestly, there was a point in game number 2 when it felt like Mint was once again taking over. It was Maelstrom at the Otacon. They started the Otacon. They ended up getting aced. And I'm like, man, Mint took a 3-0 over Dorado Zeta, the number 1 team in Group A. Now it looks like they're going to go up 2-0 in this series. This might just be chalked. It might just be a 3-0. Maelstrom snapped their fingers. They bounce back. They win game number 2, and then they just sweep it. They're on out. I think Trixui on the Diana in game number 3 was absolutely fantastic. That one team fight in mid was so pivotal. Loki all series long just had Bubster's number, was just the better bot laner in this exchange, and that game number 4 was a statement.
Yeah, for sure. Loki definitely turning it up as the games went on. Game 1 maybe a little bit more rough than the rest of them, but still making a show of it. I will put my shout out over to 5on. I think did amazing in the top side. Pretty much CS leads across the board. Also plentiful amounts of solo kills throughout all of those games. So definitely a player to watch going forward into these grand finals for this Immortal League. So I gotta say, pretty impressed by the team. I think they have a good shot of taking it, but they will have some pretty tight competition since everyone's fought so hard to get to that position.
They certainly have. It's been quite the ride here in the Titan Immortal League. We got favorites like Dorado Zeta, Drop Dead Gaming, quite literally dropping dead. Had to make that one. Okay, I'm sorry, guy. I know it's pretty bad. You made it too a little bit earlier. I kind of stole your thunder a little bit, Golden Gad. Backstage, I guess you could say, making that joke. But big teams dropping out, and now we have our first grand finalist, or at least to our knowledge, our first grand finalist. Maelstrom Esports contending for that title next week. This team looks good. They don't look deterred by the deep, fearless bans and the shenanigans that go on in that regard. They look poised to try and take home a trophy, and it will be next week when we find out who actually does. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in to the production tonight. That's going to wrap everything up. Thank you to everyone who watched all the way through. You guys are amazing. Thank you to our production, Golden and Wookie behind the scenes, making things look nice and spectacular. I'm Ferris. That's Golden Gad. Stay tuned for next Thursday when we bring you the grand final. We'll see you there. Have a good week.